With guests.
Gotta go. Oh. Hey, good evening, everybody.
Morning, evening, night.
Morning.
Today, it is.
Whatever time of day it is.
It is that time of day.
Hi, guys. Welcome to tonight's episode of
Marvel
Absolute
Phase
Buggery.
2. Oh, yeah, there you go.
Tonight we're going to be talking about Marvel Phase 2 with our wonderful friend. I think I'm pointing in the right direction here.
Yeah.
Talora.
Yes.
Again, because she knows more about Marvel than Dylan and I combined.
As per my the title and our tweet and our Facebook, it is our residential Marvel Wizz.
Wizz.
I'm not gonna say
Wizz
Wizz kid,
Talora.
because I don't know, copyright. I don't know, some shit. How are you guys? It's been a long week. It's been a long time. We haven't spoken shit as usual since Phase 1.
I'm going to say, I said it last week, I'm going to say it again. The fucking Spider-Man trailer. I've watched it a couple times.
So, Talora, do you want to talk about Spider-Man while we wait for Connor to calm
Okay,
down?
I'm muting both of you.
I cannot talk about
I will
Spider-Man.
not have that held over my head.
No.
Off limits. Off limits.
We'll start with the guest. T, how you doing? How's everything?
I am well. I'm well. How are you guys?
We're fantastic. I know Connor is. Connor's got a lot of shit happening in terms of nerd boner, life boner, everything boner going on.
Yeah,
Just-
for a change, things are good.
Yeah, and he now has a mic dangling in front of his face, like a horrible porno.
Okay, you know what?
We're not changing a damn thing.
Hang on in there, everybody. Again, I love it whenever Talora's on, we are the most professional.
We are. We have tried.
You do behave when I'm around.
Well,
there
behavior's
we
a
go.
loose term. Let's put it that way.
Behave.
Okay, guys, shall we hop in? While I
Well,
break a camera.
I
Oh, no,
have.
I'm watching somebody edit here.
Oh, that's me. So you know it's me when I change to this screen and my face gets extremely bright on camera. So, and then it gets dark again. And how's everyone in chat? Thank you guys very much for joining. We
Yeah,
know
thank
you are
you.
all from Talora's side. We got a total of however many beautiful viewers.
Yeah,
Welcome.
but it feels good. Welcome. You're gonna see what we're about.
We hope you're
see what
entertained.
we put Talora through.
It's a lot of fucking fun, actually.
Girl.
I think one of our longer sessions was the Phase 1, which was
Oh, yeah, but
roughly
that's
2.5 hours worth of a stream. So buckle your fucking shorts, and I hope you guys are fucking ready.
We did get a bit out of hand with that one.
Yeah,
We
well,
did.
we spent a good, hour just talking about Iron Man 1.
Well, Iron Man 1 was a good movie.
It was the best.
And now we get to talk about our first movie, which is Iron Man 3.
So,
The Mandalorian.
yes. Okay, you guys can stop giving me shit. Okay, we all know I fuck up. We all know that is part of me. It is not the Mandarin. For everyone in chat, you can shut up. It is the Mandalorian. That is what we're calling Trevor. That is what we're calling him because he's not the real Mandarin. We all know this. Okay, but he's Trevor. So we just put that. I'm putting that to bed now.
Are you going to remember to say Mandarin?
I put it in brackets, I think.
No, you put Mandalorian in brackets.
Shit. I'm probably going to get very confused as to which one needs to be said. I'll get it. I'm sure I'll get it. I'll get it.
But yeah, shall we open with Talora's remarks on...
So, for those who don't know, we are not professional whatsoever. So we've decided, because with guests and so forth, it's a lot easier to work on a document. So we thought, and there's so much shit.
Well, first of all, Iron Man 3 is just a glorified Christmas movie. Not unlike any Die Hard film.
Well, because it's the first Iron Man, or first Marvel movie that involved snow, other than Captain America, the first Avenger. Which, if I'm not mistaken, I think you said that one was also a Christmas movie.
No.
But I do agree with you. It had a lot of the typical like shots of something like characters and a Christmas tree.
Yes.
Yeah, there was actually quite a lot of that.
I think Marvel takes Christmas too far.
Marvel's take on Christmas. There you go. It's an Iron Man movie.
No, look, I could talk a lot about Iron Man. I mean, we know we love him. We spoke about him for like an hour, but this film just it wasn't it wasn't the best in the MCU in all fairness, and it wasn't the worst, but
No,
Look,
definitely.
I
Not
think
memorable.
compared to Iron Man 2, this was a massive step up for Marvel. We all agree how shit Iron Man 2 was in comparison.
enough.
This was
Yeah,
this was at least a path.
and this is the second best Iron Man movie. But I think the reason why they didn't go um, so hard on this on this movie is because they knew they had another 3 Avengers movies and Civil War that Tony was gonna be in. So they didn't need to make this his like thing.
Well, again, I think it was one of the things we mentioned. I think Talora does mention it in this. This is, remember, a very heavy take on what Tony Stark himself struggles with, because this is quite soon after
The Avengers.
the first
Yeah.
Avengers, the Battle of New
Chitauri
York,
attack on New
and
York, yeah.
it takes a physical toll, mental toll, emotional toll on the man. So it now takes him out of the suit and puts him in a human perspective, which is very good.
Yeah,
But at the
because
same time, you're trying to run a fantasy movie.
but I think this was Marvel's first. It was their first show. Was what they've done a lot in other movies, which is say except for like the Guardians and the Aliens, basically saying these are humans. They still deal with stress and trauma the way a human does. So it's humanizing them. It's taking them away from this godlike status, and bringing them down to they are men, and women, and
Like,
they are human.
let's be serious for a second. I think they need to make a movie of the cleaning crew of the or the Avengers shit.
Well,
Outside of what happened in Spider-Man, outside of that
I was
bullshit
just about to
tidbit.
say
I
was
know
gonna
everyone
say
is gonna
that.
jump on that, but I mean, talk about all the bullshit that happened. I mean, we're gonna talk about another Avengers movie that happens later on. Talk about the crew that has to come in and clean up an entire
Well,
city worth of shit
so
that has been
in
destroyed.
in the original Civil War. So the Civil War was much bigger in the comics. It was a like 2-year long event, and Marvel does the events very big. And what the Civil War was around was the Accords, and it was keeping heroes accountable because of stuff like what happened in New York here, where they come in, they're fighting against an enemy that wants to kill humanity, but they're still causing untold death and destruction in their wake.
So, understandably, people have their limitations. I mean, you can't expect them trying to stop this gigantic swimming whale worm thing without it hitting a few people. They did do their best, but
And they're not Goku who takes people out to the mountains and then kicks their ass.
it's not like Arrow versus fuck, I almost
I
forgot.
watched this
his
last
name.
night. Ragul.
Yeah, Ra's al Ghul, when they actually have to go
Yes.
into the mountains to do their one-on-one first human fight.
I hate the way that they say that
It's
because in the
collateral
comics it was always Ra's al Ghul.
Well, the comics don't pronounce it to you, now do they?
You don't know how I read comics, Dylan. Don't assume.
Yes, because you read them in Latin and upside down.
Yes. But that's the thing is like that's what happens with these heroes is they have to fight where the fight is happening. They can't be like, okay, we're gonna go to this.
Yeah, how about let's just move your teleporter. Let's move it to this deserted island or Antarctica, and we'll have a battle one-on-one sort of style over there. You know,
Yeah.
everyone get in line. We can bitch slap each other until the winner succeeds, and then we can carry on with our merry way. No,
Play
that's
that
not how
game
this
where
works.
you do this and the
Yeah,
person
and you
tries
gotta
to hit
slap your hands. Yeah,
to, like move.
like it's not. So I mean, dealing with that sort of intake, and obviously like there's pressure from the governments, pressure from like Shield and so forth against the Avengers, and sort of from Iron Man because he's viewed as the one sort of helping create the Avengers and mold them into this creation with Captain
Oh,
America leading him.
he was like the first. He was the first Avenger.
Yeah.
The first person brought into the Avengers.
He was
Legally,
he
Talora.
he was in terms.
Chronologically, yeah.
No, not
No,
even
no, no, no.
chronologically. When it came down to them creating the Avengers, he was the first one
Avengers
that was approached.
initiative
He
in
was
the
the first one
MCU.
approached.
But who was the whole initiative named after? It wasn't Tony. So we
No, it
can't-
was it was Carol, but Carol wasn't asked to be an Avenger.
No, it
was
was
just
what
like-
happened with her
Fair
that
enough,
that
fair
Nick
enough.
Fury decided that an avenging squad or a group of Avengers was required. So yes, she was the idea of the creation. Tony was the way to say, okay, let's help get this done. You know your connections
But
type
also,
shit.
like, I don't see Tony as the first one because who recruited Tony? The Black Widow.
Well, no, not really. Nick Fury.
Nick Fury,
Well,
yeah.
They-
Nick-
but yeah, she kind of
He was the very first one, if you think about it, because he already had her on the team.
well she was
essentially-
plot
Okay,
she was
guys,
plot
guys,
given.
guys. We are getting away from the. We're going to a bit far. Let's keep it on Iron Man 3.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that this. I've just said let's keep it on topic, and I'm about to go off topic. But this was their first foray into humanizing these heroes, pulling them down from their godlike status, because they did the same thing with an actual god when Thor lost to Thanos. He
Not even that,
became
when he lost
an
his
alcoholic.
Not even well. We all know what that looks like. No, we also they sort of humanized Thor when they took away his
No, but
powers
that's what I'm
and his
saying,
hammer.
is that, no, but I'm saying in a more they made him immortal, or Odin made him immortal, but he showed more human in later on when he
Yeah.
lost to Thanos, because he was no
He
longer
gave up.
he couldn't continue, and much like Tony here, Tony is no longer he can't shrug shit off like he did in the past. He now has to deal with the fact that he has to keep himself, he has to keep Pepper and Earth safe.
Yeah, and I
and-
think one of the biggest scenes itself was, as you see in the back of this image, is the explosion of Tony's mansion. And in the wake of it, him giving his life to not only try and save everyone around him, mostly save Pepper.
That scene was so incredible to see.
Well, where he does the thing,
Where
and
he
you
did
think,
the
"What was
whole
gonna-"
like hand thing, and it was funny to watch when he did the same thing and he got smacked in the crotch and nearly knocked out of the building. But then when you see him actually use it for saving purposes, it was actually very good.
And like we were speaking last episode about Tony making things better, you can see in this movie he doesn't have his suit for a lot of it, and I think that was the beginning of the birth of the nanotech, him having his suit
On him
always.
at all time. Well, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of this film, he officially got rid of the reactor in his chest
reactor,
with the
Yeah.
metal bits. So at this point, he took out the necessity to need something else to live. He could live on his own, and then he just needed everything else to protect him. So as long as he was 100%, he could always take care of the rest at the same level.
Yeah.
And I don't think, in fairness, that he's ever had the best mental health. I mean, he hasn't. Like,
It's Tony
I
fucking
would-
Stark. No.
His A plus
No.
parenting did nothing to help Tony, and
Yeah.
I mean, we can see that Tony suffers from like severe PTSD.
Well, look, maybe Howard Stark would have had a chance if someone didn't shoot his tire and then pull a gun out and choke his wife to death.
No, he's got a point.
That was
The whole reason for an entire movie. Yes, that was the whole reason for an entire movie.
I'll save my argument. I'll just save my argument.
No, but I-
Quiet.
I think that is a fair comment about Tony, because
But
he struggled because he did struggle with that, with losing his parents and not being able to say goodbye properly, and um not having the best parenting.
And isn't it? This is also part of in part of the movie that he did include the, and it's sadly called the bath glasses.
Was it in
Whereas,
this one where the bath
no,
glasses
or
made
was
the
that in number 2?
Civil
no
War.
Was
Civil
that in
War?
Civil War? Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll get to
Barker's in
that.
Civil War.
So
I
we
have a
do
lot
learn
to
a
say about that.
Yes.
we do learn a lot about Tony's parents in Civil War as well. That was more Avengers Civil War than
Mm,
Captain America Civil War.
Captain America.
Yeah, I think a lot of information gets out there because more connections are drawn
Mm.
within Civil War. Because I mean, obviously, there's a reason why there's a Civil War. Is because everyone is linked to someone in some way. They choose a side for a reason.
Yeah,
So
and I mean Cap's reason was his man love.
back on topic of the first movie we're talking about tonight, Iron Man 3.
I did not like the final villain. I did not like, what was his name?
Killian Aldridge.
Oh,
Killian
Killian
Aldridge.
Aldridge from AIM.
Aim.
yes.
Yeah. I did not like. I thought that Hammer was a better villain. He was more fun. Killian just seemed like a tryhard.
Killian's that sort of kid that you said you're gonna go play with him out during break time and then didn't, and now he's got a personal vendetta against you for the rest of his life because you didn't touch him that or give him a crisp high five that one day. It is a poor reason to have a negative view of someone.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
you already know Tony Stark's a dickhead at that stage that he met him initially. Everyone knew Tony Stark was a playboy billionaire prick. So, what would make you think anything different that he was going to join you on a roof to meet you? And no, come on.
Nah.
It's kind of bad writing in terms of reasons
But
for.
that's what I'm saying. This film was very messy from the start to the end. There was no clear defined goal. There's just
Yeah.
it was very messy.
And it wasn't even that they were trying to juggle too many things, like which has happened in other Marvel movies. In this one, I do agree with you. There wasn't a. They didn't have like, okay, this is the end point, and this is how we're gonna get to it. It kind of felt like they started writing, and they were like, let's see where this goes.
What they
And
did is they hung a pen by a
I
piece of pen on a string and then just did this and hoped to fuck that something was written.
Mad
okay,
Lib.
so
That's what happened.
Yes.
what they did
Yes.
is they
Okay,
had
give us a
100
noun.
monkeys. They had 100 monkeys in a warehouse with typewriters.
Yeah, trying to get Shakespeare, and then they're like, all right, let's write Iron Man 3 at the same time. Bad villain? Got it. No,
Definitely a Mad Lib.
yeah, so so for me, like the things that I've mentioned that are important for me, it's first of all, like we've just said, it's a very forgetful villain. Like the purpose of the villain or the reasoning behind it and the whole involvement and all of that kind of just bleh, it kind of just fell apart. So it didn't make it that interesting.
It was
Yes.
very forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, I remember the name, but that's only because it just came to me. If you asked me 5 minutes ago, I wouldn't have known.
It's not very difficult to remember the names of the Iron Man films. It's 1, 2, and 3. I mean,
No, but it's the villains that are the problem. You're like, where's the guy with the whips, Indiana Jones looking motherfucker? What is he?
Whiplash.
Yeah, you know.
You see, if you ask somebody who isn't a big Marvel fan but has seen these movies, who was Iron Man 3's villain, they're gonna
Mickey Rourke.
say Mickey Rourke was.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was Whiplash's name.
No, no,
Yes.
But
no. They're gonna
they-
say Trevor.
yeah, because
Trevor?
he was the more like, if you think about the big villain in number 2, it was Whiplash.
Yeah, because I
and-
mean, he made the most impact in the story.
And if you think about Iron Man 1, the villain is Obadiah Stane. In this, it's like, oh, it's that dude who explodes.
Can we talk about how Iron Man always seems to have two sets of villains in one
then they're
movie?
like,
We had
yeah.
Iron Man 1 when they kidnapped him, and then Obadiah Stane was the second villain. Iron Man
Was the real
2,
villain.
yeah, Iron Man 2, it was Whiplash, but it
Whiplash
was
with
also
the-
Hammer Technologies.
But then it was also Whiplash.
But then it was also actually Whiplash, because...
Yeah.
And
And
it was
then now
also
in...
the U.S. government.
Yeah, well, fucking... Let's not go to the next movies. We'll just wait. Now in
And
Iron
then it
Man
was
3, there's
also
another...
Hydra.
Yeah, and now in Iron Man 3, there's another two villains. There's the Mandalorian, I said it, and Aldrich Killian from AIM. So, what is up with Iron Man and having to deal with two things at a time? He's got his own personal well, three things. He's got his own personal problems, plus two villains to deal with. And when he finally meets the first villain, it's like, you're not actually the villain. That other guy behind you is.
Yeah, but I did look. Ben Kingsley's acting
It was
after you find-
amazing.
after you find out who he really is, and I loved it, and I like that they pretty much set all of this up. You know what's now happening in Shang-Chi so much earlier.
I
Don't you dare. Okay, if you want to speak about it, put your fingers up and I'll mute you.
no, we won't.
Okay.
I loved Ben Kingsley's portrayal in this, because even though he's playing he's acting as an actor who acts as someone else. So from an acting perspective, it is quite intense for him to go from a serious Mandarin role of killing a person on TV. He's high as fuck, obviously, so he doesn't think it's all real. And then when they meet him in person, he actually acts like he's that drug addict that they're just like, yo, home slice, let's get you on the chair, all up in robes, and you pull this trigger. It's totally fake, don't worry, here's some cocaine. You know, I thought it was fantastic. He did a perfect fucking job. And that was my favorite part about the entire movie.
Again, that's like there should be more that we're like, oh yeah, that's the most memorable part of this movie.
No,
It's that and like Tony being chained up and like
Yeah, you just
nothing
wait. I'm gonna get
happening.
out of here and kick your ass.
yeah, no.
Look, Robert Downey, he always outshines every other cast member, and in this case he didn't really with Ben Kingsley. They were. You know,
I think when it came to all Iron Man films, outside of Iron Man films, Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark stood out.
Yeah.
In all of Tony Stark's movies, he didn't stand out. There was more everything else going around.
Well, I mean, the first one was a very much Tony movie, but the second and third,
Yeah, it's sort of like, it should be like Trevor, the fake Mandarin, featuring Iron Man. You know, it's kind of like, how do you name this Iron Man
Yep.
3 when it's like, granted, okay, at the very end, I mean, he gets all of these other suits to come and fight against one person. Granted, there's a little bit of extra stuff, but it's eventually at the end of this
Oh,
where
right,
they
right,
blow
right.
up all of the suits and he starts from scratch, type of shit.
starts from scratch. Mark 52.
Yeah, well, fuck.
what are we on now? Mark 80 something.
86, I think it was, or 80, 84. Pardon. I don't know. Some fucking ridiculous. For anyone in chat that has any current opinions about Iron Man 3, and if there are, it was a good movie, we will tell you now you are wrong. But we will let you
so
speak them anyway.
The battle of, or well, it's Iron Man's ultimate arm. So it's the one that he can do literally anything in. Is Mark 85.
Except apparently fight off some guy that can heat up his arms and melt through metal like butter. Because that's why he has so many suits. They kept cutting through all of his suits.
But I like that. Okay, no, that's a story. That's a conversation for when we get to Endgame. But yeah, so suit Mark 85 was the ultimate armor. Shall we move on to?
Yeah, well, with the final
we have to?
remarks, with the final remarks being that this is not the worst movie we're going to be talking about tonight.
No, it's not.
This is
It's,
far from the worst movie.
it's definitely Winter Soldier.
Ooh, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is actually how Connor died. You've watched it here first. You caught it live. Talora
The
somehow
Talora like
blinks
reaching through the
from that
screen.
camera to the camera on the other side, just comes through the door and just kills you.
Let me just breathe for a second.
We got a Super Peach in chat. Ant-Man is the best. We are getting to that, young sir, and I totally agree with you. But we will discuss once Talora's had her time. Waller Blacklake in chat say Iron Man 3 is definitely the weakest of the three, but I wouldn't call it a bad movie. No, it isn't a bad movie.
I don't think that Iron Man 3 is the weakest. I still think that Iron Man 2
Definitely.
was the weakest.
Iron Man 2, because it was all over the place, it was the weakest of the three Iron Men. But out of this list, it's not a bad movie, but it's not the worst movie we're about to discuss. The next one we will be discussing is a DC movie, funny enough. And I say that because it is the darkest fucking movie, not in terms of its, portrayal of anything, just in its fucking camera lighting.
Dude,
It
was
is.
such
Can't see anything.
it was so
It was the
beautiful
Dark World.
time. But I don't know what Marvel was trying to achieve with this movie.
They were
I can't see it. Were they trying to be dark and gritty?
Well, I mean, it is called the Dark World,
Dark
understandably.
World.
But
No,
are they
I
trying
guess-
to show the DC creators like, listen, we can actually make a very good movie.
No,
Let's
I
show you
think-
your quality
I think
according
the
to our
Dark
fans,
World
and
was
then
actually-
ours.
Oh no, it wasn't before DC started making movies.
Oh
but-
no, this is way after.
It was really like, I don't know with the cinematography and the tone of the movie what they were going for, because granted we could speak about like the story of Iron Man 3 being very messy and them not having like a clear idea of where they're going, but the tone was consistent throughout.
It's easier to understand than whatever the bullshit they were doing in Thor: The Dark World. For some reason, fucking planes were overlapping each other, which is the first time you'll ever see it, because it's like the first time they experienced it on Earth. I mean, you see them always look at this and go, what the fuck is that? And they're like, no, but this happens every 10 years. No, it fucking doesn't. Here's proof. Morons run around and freak the fuck out. You can't bullshit that. And then out of my biggest problem with this movie, outside than not seeing more than half of it, this is the worst way to introduce an Infinity Stone. Are you fucking kidding me?
Because like the Space Stone, it was but again, oh yeah, no, that was in the that we have already spoken about that. Because the Space Stone was the no, okay, so the Space Stone was very much like along the lines of what Hitler was actually doing in World War II. He was looking for all these paranormal ways of winning the war, so it made sense.
And the fact that it was hidden and there was a lot of purpose to it.
And I mean, where it was hidden, and like all the surroundings of the stone was very obvious. But in this one, they're just like, oh, Jane,
Touched the rock.
She got high, walked in some direction, and then
she
fondled the
walked
rock.
into a warehouse, and then was in an extra dimension, and then touched the rock, and damn, now she's an Infinity Stone. No,
and then the liquid groped her, flowed within her, and then first, not only that, some random elf-looking motherfucker can pull this fucking Infinity Stone. He can control it and pull it out of her. It's an Infinity Stone. It has so much power.
My next comment was going to be about how the Mind Stone was introduced, but that was still better than
that was introduced with Loki using a staff and using its abilities.
Which makes it.
What doesn't make sense?
Mine.
What doesn't make sense is why did Thanos give it to him if he was trying to collect it to put it in the gauntlet?
Because he
Because
needed
he was gonna
it
kill
to get the
Loki
rest.
anyway.
I mean, you saw him choke out Loki. All of us enjoyed that, but also hated it.
Because of plot reasons.
Yeah, but like looking at all of it, when the stone was introduced, the power was shown. When the Space Stone was introduced, the power was shown in terms of their creation into technology and using it in such.
And I mean,
the Mind Stone, the same thing.
The Reality Stone is okay. All the Infinity Stones are powerful, but
it is a game breaker.
On its own, it is so powerful because you can just bend reality around you, you can make it whatever your will is.
And I'll ask chat, do any of you know what the fuck the owls wanted with the reality stone? Well, reality liquid, the red liquid, the
But
shit.
okay, so another that's actually one of mine is. So aside from the terrible pacing of this movie, the villain, they were boring. It was a boring villain.
Oh,
Not
okay,
not
no.
in the way that just
Yeah, go.
not in the way that like I didn't like Killian. I not Killian. Aldridge.
Killian
Um,
Aldridge. Aldridge
that
Killian,
guy.
yes.
That the aim guy. um, you know, as much or like as much as Hammer wasn't a great this villain was just boring. They didn't really, other than Eccleston being angry at everything for 2 hours, there wasn't really anything like they didn't have a clear motive.
Well,
There wasn't a well-rounded villain.
there was a motive, but it was horribly explained. There wasn't enough detail or information given about it. It was just like, here's a villain and here's a little trickle of how it's connected. Go have fun.
This movie was just a vehicle to introduce a Infinity Stone.
Yeah,
Because they were already moving towards the Infinity War.
And then my one comment, sorry T, the one comment I have here is Thor was pointless. Electric rods saved the day. They counteracted this shit happening between the planes by shoving electric rods into the ground and activating them.
Electronic rod saved, yeah, pretty much lightning rod saved the day.
That's what it was. Like Thor was pointless. He was
did
one v one. It's the whole Indiana Jones concept. Take him out, and the whole thing would have happened anyway.
Yeah, the movie would have happened exactly the same
Because
way.
the scientists would have thought, "Oh shit, let's try and stop this. Put up the electric rods." Ba-ba! You know.
Thor was only there to look good. That's all.
He was only there so they could give it the title Thor.
Yeah, they needed a way to tie it in.
Yeah, it's not just the dark world reason why Reality Stone exists. You know, you can't just make that a movie. I should go into
to be
Marvel and
honest
just
with
rename
you-
all of their shit.
This movie was too long.
Oh my god, it
It just-
dragged.
It was too long. There was just nothing happening for such a long time.
And then when
The
shit
point where you are
happens,
sitting there,
and then shit happens, and then it's done in like 5 minutes. Like they shove a rock inside of a guy, send him in as a prisoner. He fucking breaks out, like breaks people out of prison, and then back to normal basic shit. Come on.
it was too long. And by the time something happened, you were kind of falling asleep.
And it's unfortunate that you actually have to watch part of this film to work with, like, going through the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Give me some film editing software. I'll do a supercut. It'll be 5 minutes. I swear.
5
to God.
minutes explanation.
You can go from
pretty
Iron Man 3, watch all of Iron Man 3, 5 minutes of Thor: The Dark World, directly into the Winter Soldier.
It's 5 minutes of rock turned to liquid, liquid turned to rock, and then next movie.
And then the stone getting put in a jar and given to the collector. Next movie, just
That's it. End of story. Bye bye.
end of story.
It's the dumbest. I don't know. I just, there's nothing appealing about this movie.
The way some people hate The Incredible Hulk is the way I hate this film. I have nothing good to say about it.
Like literally, if you take this out, if you take this out of the entire Phase 2, entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, it can still flow perfectly. I mean, no one ever knew really where the stones came from, yet they were in a location.
And all they would need to
Just
do
give
is
us a
move
shot.
the. All you'd need to do is move the end credit scene to another Marvel movie.
Kaz
Yeah.
3200 in chat says the only thing I can remember from this is all the various scenes of black goo. Yes, Kaz, yes, 100%. It's just like you cut up open these pasty fucking elf things, and it's just goo, and then more. Yeah, let's just add more dark textures to this already dark form.
But I think another thing that this movie does which is very out of character for a Marvel movie, is it takes itself too seriously. Like granted, again, we're going to speak about the Winter Soldier, and eventually we're going to speak about Civil War. Those were serious movies. They had serious. The tone was more serious.
I
But
can
this,
just see
no,
Talora's
no,
face. No, I get
I'm
what
not
he's. I
making.
get what he's saying.
I'm
Like
not making
the
any disparaging remarks about the Winter Soldier, but the Winter Soldier had reason to be serious
yeah,
because
and
it was dealing with the Hydra infiltrating Shield,
yeah, and there was an
and
actual story to the fucking purpose
yeah,
of the
and and,
film.
and it was with the movies that are a bit more serious. It's either much bigger stakes or it's more grounded in reality. So there, if we look at the Winter Soldier and Civil War being my two examples of it being more based in reality, and it taking themselves rightfully seriously. This movie was so grim throughout all of it, and that even the first Thor movie wasn't this grim.
No, the
It was
first one was amazing in my opinion compared
yeah,
compared
and
to
I
this.
think now jumping off of the Dark World, if you're just watching the Thor movie, this is going to be the standout one because it does not fit in with the other two Thor movies.
This
'Cause
is worse,
there's
but still compared to Iron Man 2 of the Iron Man trilogy.
yes, but it's so much worse that it actually.
Well,
I
okay,
think we'll all agree that
we
it
hold our
ranks the worst.
reservations. We hold our reservations. Thor: Love and Thunder is still coming out, so we will
I
have to
am
wait.
on board for Thor: Love and Thunder.
If it
Taika
is
Waititi.
I'm
dark,
nervous.
if it's dark
I'm
as fuck,
nervous.
and it's this is what they're coming off of, and they try and go any way near what Thor: The Dark World did, I am not going to be happy.
It is a bit scary because it's the fourth like solo film. It's stepping so far out of what Marvel's done with literally all of the other franchises except for Avengers. It is a bit worrying. I will agree.
But after having read a few things about the film and seeing concept art, I'm very nervous about the film. I won't lie
I
to you.
would give it. I would understand that, but if we're looking at Thor: The Dark World, if you're coming off of one of the best Thors that came out, which is the one before that, Thor Ragnarok,
Look,
it
as
has a good stepping stone to what is like available, what is possible with the films. I mean, Thor Ragnarok being one of the best ones, and we'll discuss that when it comes to that phase. But it, in comparison to the shit that they have done in the past, no matter what, this was a massive, massive step in the right
but
direction.
we can't even chalk this up to or Marvel finding their feet
No,
with these movies
no,
because
it's too
we're
late for that.
we're in phase two. I would understand it if something like this happened in phase
A
one.
very good film in one phase.
Yeah, but it
No.
but Marvel is already up and running. They know what they're doing with the MCU. This doesn't have its place. You can skip it because it doesn't do anything for the franchise.
Yeah.
And we spoke about it before. It does come down to the directors. They're
Yeah.
giving the wrong directors the wrong projects.
And
Yeah.
they're giving them too much control over what should happen. I mean, if we're looking at how people often compare the series or the books to the film and the massive difference of it, rather let someone who's willing to try and take as much of, for instance, the comic book idea of Thor: The Dark World, and let them change it accordingly.
I'm actually struggling to come up with the storyline that they were following for
They
the
must
Dark
have they must
World.
have been following the introduction of the Redstone, not necessarily Thor itself.
No, the Infinity Stones weren't introduced like this in the original.
Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm not too sure where they were basing this off of, but it just yeah.
I think it was someone who's given too much power and they completely
Yeah,
blew it.
the writers and the directors weren't like this at this point could have derailed the MCU. But I
Yes.
think that
Fucking
I-
Disney, that's why. It is Disney.
Dis-
It says it in the bottom right there. I've just opened the picture big on my screen to make sure it is a Disney.
so Disney, I think because they already had the Winter Soldier, they already had Guardians queued up. They were prepared.
I think
were
they
ready
took
for-
all of the color out of Thor: The Dark World and put it in Guardians of the Galaxy. But if you look at the contrasts, There is so much more brighter
Yeah.
purples and greens and blues that if they put it into this film, you might have been able to see the purpose of the movie and the reasoning behind what the fuck. Look at her. Oh, I thought there was a cat on your fucking chair. It's a cow
That's what
blanket.
I was double checking because I heard the door. Shall we move on from this horrific
Yeah,
Laura's
just
favorite, which I'll let her speak first on this.
yeah. So we will definitely move to. Oh fuck! I'm on the wrong screen here. God, professional guys, remember this. We are 100% professional. Talora, we will shut up. You go ham.
Okay, first of all, this film is the best MCU film to date, no doubt. And I came to represent today. Like, as you can see, I came to
All of
represent.
you in chat that might have ever disbelieved that Talora is our Marvel whiz and our Marvel nerd, she
Oh damn!
has
I'm not
more.
wearing my Marvel shirt tonight. Damn it!
Oh no, I don't own one. Actually no, I have a Wakanda one, but it doesn't fit me. My wife stole it.
No, look. Talk about the Winter Soldier for days on end. It is the perfect example of what a Marvel movie should be. It has a beginning and end. It has a middle. It's very conducive. It is. It's a
It
very good.
flows.
Mm.
It's got a very good flow. You know what's happening, and we see in Iron Man 3 where they try and start talking about somebody's mental health and the PTSD. In this film, we see it again with Steve when he meets Sam. He goes to the the VA. He sees a lot of what's happening, and then they talk about how they can't sleep on a bed.
So going on
And
that, and this is also one of the notes I made here, is that it shows a deeper view of what ex-soldiers face when they are no longer in war. I mean, yes, you get the idea that this is a movie about these beings that can pretty much do whatever the
Yeah,
fuck they want. But
this
you also
one though
remember that, yeah,
is
like
less about the superhumans. You know, the
the people who are still humans at the end of the day.
yes that
And
still have to deal with being a normal person, and
yeah, are we just going to say phase 2 is the PTSD of Marvel? Like this is where everyone needs to
oh
start
wait,
dealing with their
let me
problems.
go
And there's the
double check.
There's the Captain America mug. No, I definitely agree because I mean Sam starts speaking to Steve Rogers, but as a counselor and as a friend,
Mm,
explaining because I mean he's come from many tours doing his own Falcon thing,
yeah.
and Captain America is now at the point of where he he was a person that couldn't get into the soldier life but really wanted to, then was stuck in the soldier life,
Yeah,
and then was
and
frozen in ice, and then came out, had to deal with
and
a whole bunch of shit, and then left alone.
is the perfect because Cap is the perfect soldier. I
He's
mean,
the picture boy for what PTSD should look like in a person after
I know.
war.
he's
I think that
he's
that
the
goes more to Iron Man, because Cap handles the PTSD a lot better. But I think that's because he has spent his life or a large amount of time preparing to go to war.
No, but Cap shows the side of them of the what is next. Captain
Mm.
Iron Man or Tony Stark is currently in the progression of going from all
Yeah,
of the busy to all of the
and
nothing and all the pain in between. Captain America is now at the point of the okay, what do I do with my life? Because everything I've known and loved and
yeah,
soldier is
I think
not
that
working.
is actually a pretty good a, a pretty good show of what it's like to come back from war, because the places that you knew still look the same, but they aren't as you knew them because your mind has changed. But for Cap, obviously, as time has literally a
It was
hundred years
70
has
years, I think it was 70 years were frozen.
yeah.
It was a blink. He blinked when he went in the ice, and when he opened his eyes
Mm.
after the blink, he was in the new world. What the fuck? What is a man to do? Not only has he been thrown through time and to deal with a change of lifestyle, but also it is no longer every single thing is about war because they won the war against the Nazis. They've progressed past
Yeah.
that.
But then, if you think about it, if the moment he came out of the ice, he was thrown straight back into a war,
Mm.
and he hasn't stopped.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
he has been fighting,
this
and
is the first time you see he's out. That's why I would like the argument of what does he do with his life? I mean, he does those runs for fucking ever in the morning and then sits under a tree and writes on a book
On your left.
because, yeah, on your left. And then he writes in a book because he wants to experience things, but he doesn't know where to start. He doesn't know
Yeah.
what to do. And hence the best
He's had
introduction
half
of,
a century's worth of stuff
yeah,
that he now needs to
I mean,
experience.
back in his day, everywhere he looked, it was, we need you, war is happening, fight the Nazis, come on, join us,
Yeah.
whatever. Now, wherever he turns, it's Coca Cola.
But but did you know that little book that he writes in? That book, his list changes depending on the country that the film is basically in. So in Japan there was a different list. In the US there's a completely different list. In Germany there was a different list. Every country had like a unique list, like relevant to their country.
You
And just
see the
imagine
Marvel
him like
nerds, ladies and gentlemen.
I just have this image of him writing in the book, and then the last thing is Nani? Question
Nani?
mark. Um, so
It's
to me though, this movie feels like a spy thriller. It feels like a Robert Ludlum, or because it's so far removed from the superheroics of the other Marvel movies, and it's showing what the government in a world with superheroes is like, and facing those challenges versus what we have now, which is espionage and the
and
like.
and this is the segue I needed.
Go
This,
have
this is again why I appreciate this movie a lot more than most of the Avengers and stuff like that. The introduction of how far Hydra has gone. I mean, Captain America fought them in the beginning in the war when it came down to the Space Stone and all the Tesseract and all of that. He comes back to work for this company,
Powerful
Shield,
shield.
and to find out, and he finds out in this film that it's actually being weeded in by Hydra.
I mean, Hydra controlled shield.
Yeah, the espionage. I mean, as you talk about this being a spy thriller, talking about, the inside man, the spies on the inside sort of thing, this was exactly that. Bucky Barnes was the face thrown out to keep everyone busy, sort of thing, while Hydra did their shit in the back. I mean, yes, they're like, oh, go fetch that man. He's a bad man. Then they take him away and they, reprogramming and send him outside again. So I'm not throwing Bucky Barnes under the bus here. He threw a couple
No,
of
Bucky.
people there.
I think Bucky is one of the best characters. Bucky as we know him now, and that I mean is years after this. Bucky is one of the best characters. I appreciate his, especially in Falcon the Winter Soldier. He's an awesome character.
And
But
and also
also
the way they introduced Sam Wilson in this was
Yes.
fantastic. It
because
was
it wasn't
it was the most
it,
fluid, most storyline understanding from a man to man. I understand your pain. Let's go talk about it.
yeah.
They become friends. Then he finds out he's
Yeah,
the
because
Falcon.
it wasn't like here is another superhero that you know that you need to memorize. This is a
It's
guy
a
who
friend.
understand. Yes, it's somebody that understands your pain. It is another human that knows what you've been through and knows what it feels like to come back from war.
And there was no introduction from another person for this. They
Yeah.
met each other while running
It was
around water.
it was the first friend that he made on his own
Mm.
in the
That it wasn't
21st
it
century.
wasn't like, oh, this is your team, this is
No,
your
it's
this is
Yes.
who
on
you
your
have to
left,
go and
and
go to war with.
it's the on the left guy. I mean,
On the left
that's
guy.
all Sam Wilson knew is on the left, and he got annoyed. And then obviously he went to go speak to him, out of
Mm.
understanding and talking about things because he obviously knew who he was, but he didn't go to him being like, "I'm a Falcon. Look at my shit. Here's my
But
portfolio of what I can do.
the
You and me are buddy
Falcon
buddy." No,
the Falcon wouldn't have come around if not for Captain America needing
yeah,
Sam
and
in this movie.
but then also when it comes down to sorry, see the Civil War, which we will talk about later, shows the reason why people have their connections, why they're on the side that they choose. And this is a perfect example. They are friends first and abilities later.
Yeah, and soldiers
So,
after that.
yeah.
Laura?
But that's the thing. Like, I also think I made a note about it about Rumlow and how I think Cap would have had gotten to see him as like a friend, and then for him to find out that he's Hydra, that must have put him at a point where he doesn't know who to trust what's real, what isn't,
Yeah.
because these are the people that he works so closely with, and
Yeah,
now they're
because
all hiding.
Hamler was
he Rumlo's
Rumlow's
crossbone.
Crossbones. Thank you. He was an actual villain given a name. I didn't
Yeah.
know he had a name. I
Yeah.
will be honest with you. I learnt it later on when they were
I,
talking about him having to do some reappearance at some point.
I think
Well, you only see him again in Civil War, so
No,
I
no,
think
in movies
Crossbones is
coming out.
actually
I think there is a movie, or they might be introducing, if they're continuing with the Winter Soldier series, that they're going to involve him.
no, didn't he die?
no, he did. Oh, well,
So are a lot of people. So was Bucky.
yeah.
I think
So was
Crossbones is
Loki.
also
Many times
no,
Loki.
but one
And then
someone dies, they're dead.
Yes.
It's not like
But
if it's super beings like Loki, dying isn't a problem.
no, but he's the trickster. He fucks
It's a
about.
slight setback.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I will apologize to chat at the moment now that if it seems like I am cutting out or something is a bit iffy, my PC is starting to do its own bullshit with the internet again, where it just turns the internet off and then turns it back on again.
Though this movie does have one of the most memorable scenes in all of the MCU, and that is Bucky turning and
who the hell
grabbing
is
the
Bucky?
No, so
is Bucky catching the shield.
oh yeah, when he catches it
Yeah,
like straight and he
when he
just
just
it's like war paint.
yeah,
so
that is one of the most, to me, is one of the most iconic MCU.
it's the first person to be able to.
Bucky just turning on a dime and catching the shield without so much as budging. Like he doesn't even shift his weight. The shield stops in his arm.
It's the first person to go against Cap, shield to shield.
The shield to arm.
Well, shield against each other. Frisbee, he frisbeed, in other words. Sorry,
But there's
again.
the score in this film is one of the best scores. The theme, how it's actually like they did it from the sound of Bucky falling from the train. So if
Really?
you go and listen to it, you should be able to like hear, like if you like listen to it with headphones on and things like that. It was made from the screen. So that's why, and it's really chilling when you do start hearing it. You think, okay, no, something bad is going to happen now, and you see that when he goes to assassinate Nick, and the first thing you hear is the Winter Soldier theme. It is you get proper goosebumps when you like really got headphones on and you're listening to the film.
So
It's
I will give you one bad effect that I've had from this movie, but I've had from pretty much all villains that wear a mask. As soon as the mask
oh
comes
no,
off, they somehow lose levels in their RPG lifestyle that they're currently living. Bucky, as soon as they take the mask off and they find out that he's Bucky, understandably the manner in which they dealt with it was actually a lot better because they started working on the fact that he is Bucky, the person that they knew, and they
Yeah.
worked with that. Not as, oh, this is my real face, and now I'm weaker. No, he stayed the same, but the way they dealt with him
I
in the
think
fights and stuff like that
I
worked a
think
lot
that
better.
it was less that he just lost levels for no reason, and more that Cap is now fighting for a different reason.
Yeah, he's
not
fighting to get his
to,
friend back.
no, it's no longer that he's fighting to beat the bad guy. He's
Yeah.
now fighting because this is his best friend.
Yeah, so
And it's Bucky as he knew him when he lost, so well, except for the muscles and the long hair,
and the arm.
but and the arm, but
or
he
lack thereof.
he looks like Bucky. It is to Cap. He's fighting for his friend now.
Yeah, so
Yes.
the biggest and that's why I say it's the biggest problem I have with movies when it comes to villains, but I'm happy with the way they dealt with it in this movie. That yes, fine, reveal the face, but he still shows that no matter what, there is a massive threat to deal with. They just now have a different approach.
Isn't the villain, but as the movie, as you get into the beginning, the first act of the movie, it is portrayed as Bucky is the bad guy. The Winter Soldier
that-
is the villain.
It's that Iron Man switch and bait trope.
Yeah, no, definitely. But
Again,
they
again,
do it-
Hydra gave a face for Captain to keep him busy.
but they also did it. It wasn't like the Iron Man where it's like, oh, this is the guy you need to be focused on, and then oh no, he's just a druggie. They were like, Bucky was a real threat.
You say
He
cocaine?
was he was a legitimate threat, until Cap and Sam and Nat get involved, and then they start digging, and it slowly, the twists, it does it very elegantly shifts from Bucky being the bad guy to Hydra being the bad guy, having this influence over Bucky and making him the bad
using
guy.
him. Yeah. So I think so the way they did it, it's here's the bad guy. He's fucking powerful. No matter what, he is fucking powerful. But now it's gone from let's stop the bad guy to we see someone's controlling him, let's save him.
Talora, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it was exactly what happened. I apologize, chat. I've been dealing with this all day.
But yeah, this is also for me the first MCU movie that dealt with the more mature themes. So that not mature as in because there's always been violence and stuff like that, but it deals with government conspiracies and the brainwashing and a lot of like the Cold War era stuff. But it's still it's still something you could take a kid to go watch.
It's and it sounds weird to say it. They somehow make it family friendly. They somehow make espionage family friendly, to the point that yes, PG-13, fine, parental guidance. Your parents gonna take you there, but they only take you there because you nagged to go watch it. They wouldn't understand. They don't really give a shit. But the kid wants to go watch it, and they still enjoy the fact of the whole espionage going on. So
It still succeeds at being a good movie.
And I think it is in this film that we see the return of the senator from Iron Man 2, and we find out that he was Hydra.
He's a Hydra
which makes-
agent, yeah.
which makes them trying to take the Iron Man suit it makes that so much worse.
yeah, when they fought so hard and Tony Stark gave them the bird, and now the symbol of freedom is busy dealing with the same person.
Yeah.
And also, I think there's been descriptions or playthroughs showing the real abilities of people in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and this was the one where they actually showed the full ability of what Captain America can do. He took down a fucking one of the air gliders with a shield.
Yes, that was
When he
very-
stabbed it
that
in,
whole
he flipped
scene-
over all of that. That whole getting off of that bridge or with his motorbike.
Oh damn! If only I had the now.
Nope, people can watch it in the VOD and crop that fucking shit later. Oh my fucking god. But yeah, so like just that whole bridge scene, the whole taking down a plane with a shield. It shows you the true ability. Yeah, there's that whole orgy fight scene, whatever, in the elevator that no one really gives a fuck about. This is the
you
true.
mean one of the most like memorable fight scenes in the entire MCU?
Nah, it's them going, and then if you're on the other side of the door of the elevator, you don't want to be watching that kind of film. Trust me.
that elevator scene is, come on, it's honestly the best fight scene. I mean,
No.
I thought we were gonna get
Nah.
I have 100%. I have 100% better fight scene. It
Yep.
does include Bucky
No.
and Captain America, though.
Yep.
So
No, okay, fine. Solo hero, dealing with Hydra, very good. Very
he's
good
the only one dealing with Hydra. If you think about it, the only time the rest of them are involved is when Thanos and all the other people's trying to fuck with Earth. When it's just Hydra, then it's just Captain America.
Nat
So
and Sam were there.
the best fight scene I think is still Cap and Bucky versus Iron Man
Yes.
in
The way
in
they
Civil
fight after fight, and I talk about throwing the frisbee because of the
That was just a
combinations that they
beatdown.
have with each other.
No, Iron Man was holding his own.
Because
He
of
was
Friday.
involved.
He was only doing well
It
because
does.
of Friday.
Again, I'm not
The
watching the
only
fight
reason
scene. I'm
he
not
was
watching the fight
doing
scene
well
because of
in
the
any of his
CGI.
fight scenes was because of Jarvis. Up until Age of Ultron, the only reason Tony survived was because of Jarvis.
Yeah. The
Fair
whole
enough.
everything that Tony does involves Jarvis. It's Jarvis, do this. Okay, run tests while I go fuck some bitches, make money.
But-
I don't know what he says.
Cap and Bucky were bullying Tony in that scene. That was so
No,
unnecessary.
Tony. So the let's put it this way: the Iron Man suit held its own.
Yeah, Tony,
Tony was a passenger. He just went limp in the suit
Okay,
and
so-
just
so
let
the
the rest
best-
happen.
The
The
best fight scene in the entire in the MCU. You
are
know,
two
including Avengers,
characters that can be killed with a bullet and a
two
suit
dudes
of armor.
It's Cap and Bucky versus Friday.
Yes,
That is the fight.
that is, but it
Wait,
legitimately
wait, wait.
is.
But okay, I know you guys are gonna hate me for saying this, but the fight scene in Black Widow with Taskmaster,
That was pretty cool because it does.
like,
No, the fight scene because I mean, Taskmaster has the same thing going on that Tony did. It's
she
Um,
copies everything that everybody else does.
Yeah, but
that's
remember
why she
that.
had the shield.
Yeah, but they play it
But-
through her physical being. Iron Man, you take him out the suit will still
The
fight.
suit will still fight.
You take Iron Man, you take Tony Stark, he will not fight. The suit will fight. You take the skin off of Taskmaster, the person's dead, but you still need the whole body of Taskmaster to be there for anything to happen. Like, the chip
But
needs something,
the
whereas the
thing
suit
is-
doesn't.
Like Taskmaster was just like with the way she copied everything, and you could see that throughout the film. It was just too good, too good.
Oh god. Shall we move on, Dol? Shall we try and get through our source material?
Fucking please. I swear to God,
Okay.
we're gonna have to redo phase 2 as soon as the internet decides to stop being a. Oof. Twitch, please don't cancel us.
Winter Soldier, good film.
Yes, 10 out of 10
Brilliant
would
film.
definitely
best
recommend.
Uh-huh.
10 out of
2000 out of 10.
2000, 10 out of 10 would recommend again. Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So, what do we have next?
Guardians.
All right, so all of the color from Thor: Dark World put into one movie. Let's talk.
Honestly, best soundtrack. I'll just.
Oh no, it does truly have the best soundtrack.
You guys talk
But
quickly.
okay.
Give me a second.
I know what you're gonna go fetch.
I hope.
I think I might have the same thing.
Probably. If it's what I think it is, you probably own this.
No, look,
Look, it does. It's definitely a weaker Marvel movie, but it is fun. It's an easy watch. Like you're not struggling to get through this movie.
no, but Chris Pratt makes things very cringy, and like going back to watching something with him in it.
But like what you and I were speaking about is that I can't think of a single character out of the Guardians that I'm like, yes. Okay, where is it?
I'm not as prepared as you guys. It is somewhere in my house. I currently have both Volume 1 and Volume 2 on vinyl. And I bought a vinyl record so I could play it. I love it. I think this is, out of a lot of movies that I've watched, this is the first movie where music actually meant a lot in the film. Like, a lot of them use it,
And
yeah, rah, rah, here's some fighting music because I'm about to fuck up something.
Super Peach in the chat. It's really funny. Which yeah, it was. It was a very like out of the Marvel movies, it was probably the lightest.
Not even like comparing it to its own other version. Guardians of the Galaxy itself is the funniest and like the one that doesn't take itself seriously. They play a lot more humor inside when it comes to the films and stuff like that. And I even put a note here. By far the funniest or the most comedic in the entirety of the MCU,
I don't think
outside
I
of
disagree.
outside
I
of Ant-Man,
disagree.
outside of
Ant-Man,
Ant-Man.
I really
Ant-Man,
disagree.
Ant-Man is the
I think it's Thor Ragnarok, but
So you're saying that just because of the hey, we're work buddies, and then they fuck each other up.
no, but there
No.
was a lot of stuff like when Hulk
was
jumps out of the ship and he's expect or when Banner jumps out of the ship and he expects to turn into the Hulk and he just boom
So
onto
so Waller Blackley in chat says, I love how they incorporated the music into the story as
a sympathetic character
Sym-
history element.
Thank
Yes,
you.
so it's hard to Peter being from Earth and being
Not
a
only
human.
is my internet dropping on my PC, it's dropping on my brain too.
But can I add to that and say that I want a what if episode where they
Peter listening to like some hardcore drum and bass.
Yeah, some EDM, some trance type of music that you need to drop a shit ton of acid for.
And Peter walking through the the thing to go get the power stone, just being like,
Yeah, he's got all of those color bands around. He's got a whistle in his mouth, and he's like, "Raise the roof," and he's shuffling along. Instead of kicking the creatures, he's starting to do some dance moves.
Oh,
Courtsy
God.
in chat says, "And Rabbit is in the Guardians." That is another one of my reasons for loving this. And yes, it's mentioned later, but Thor calls
Rabbit.
calls him Rabbit. They call Rocket Rabbit, and I thought it was fantastic. I loved it. My wife loves the character himself, so it's just everything that comes down to this movie. Like with a lot of you talking about Thor Ragnarok, talking about Ant-Man. Ant-Man has his quirky side. If we're talking like Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, it's pretty much the same thing where they don't know how to shut up when doing things. So they kind
And
of
he
their
doesn't take
brain,
himself serious.
yeah, he just goes mad and he talks shit. Whereas in Guardians of the Galaxy, Peter Quill is a fucking moron. And he doesn't see himself as a moron. So he thinks he's this awesome guy and he's got all of the smart shit and people tell him he's an idiot. And then they talk about, that's in number 2, but Taserface. And then you have Yondu who whistles with that beautiful, do you call it hair? Is it a helmet? I know he calls it a fin, but it's where your hair should be. So
That's where your hair
what?
should be.
What? But it's not. Humans don't have. Oh, it's not a human either. Humanoids don't have fin. Oh, fucking! I could be totally wrong. But
No,
you
but-
see my point. Like nothing
but
in this
so-
movie took itself seriously.
So Laura and I did have a conversation about this movie after she had commented that she needs to go and rewatch it. But so when we think about the Marvel, the main character, like that is the correct character. That's the best person to play this. I can't think of anyone in the the Guardians main, in the Guardians themselves, who I'm like, yes, I want to see more of that.
Can we also put it this way? This is the one time that an actor has gotten so ripped and built for a job like this, where no one wants to see him without his shirt because they just want to hear him talk. There is a scene where he goes to the prison. Yes, he doesn't have his shirt on, and then cool. You see the six pack. You can skip over that scene because you're there to listen to him
But,
talk shit.
if you look at Chris Pratt's transformation from his
from
character on Parks
Parks
and
and
Rec
Recreation, yeah.
to what he looks like in that first movie, he got jacked.
Yeah.
But he is not the most, like, the biggest muscle transformation. that
he
has to
isn't.
go to Thor.
No, so I'm not saying that he's the biggest transformation. I'm saying he's.
Who? Tell me. Who?
She wants to say Bucky.
Bucky in Civil War.
You don't really see much of Bucky though.
Dude,
doesn't matter.
you've seen those photos of what
Yeah.
Chris Hemsworth now looks like. He didn't just get back to being jacked. He's like super jacked now.
You got
It
you.
doesn't look good,
There's so
though.
many fucking Chris's, and then
It
you.
doesn't look good.
But
though.
you get
No, it looks a
you
bit.
you get it's a Chris
He- He's a
Stevens.
bit Hulk Hogan-y.
What is Steve Rogers? Chris, not Hemsworth, not Pratt. Evans, thank you.
Evan.
Now that shows a built person. I mean, when they do that whole scene with the helicopter, him holding the helicopter down,
Yeah.
you actually see the muscular physique
that
required
is-
for that, and that was
That
awesome.
man is that is where,
So-
dependent on your religious beliefs, when whoever the creator is created man, they were like, yes, this is your example.
This is what you need to
Chris
follow.
Evans is what you need to
As-
look like.
As RDJ says, we love that scene.
Yeah, definitely. But so
I
let me
mean, I'm a
rephrase.
straight married man.
So am I.
That's
I love
hard.
that scene.
That scene made me question certain things about myself.
Not so far, but yes, I agree. So let me rephrase it. It was the biggest waste of a transformation. Because
Yeah,
we
but
didn't need to see the six pack.
You
The point-
can't-
the point
you
of
can't
Peter
be
Quill-
chubby and be an okay.
With the amount of baggage that man wears in terms of the drapage of cloak and shit like that, you wouldn't have noticed.
And I can honestly tell you now today that he's not the best Star Lord.
No, he isn't. He isn't. We know who the best Star Lord is.
Who is
And I
this?
will not
Elaine,
be taking criticism.
It's T'Challa. T'Challa is the best
It's
Star
T'Challa.
Lord. Cha-Cha is the best Star Lord.
Hey, Cha-Cha.
Cha real smooth.
Dude, please go and watch What If. It's so good.
I will. I have not. Don't hate me, Talora. I have not. I will be watching. I'm so sorry. Please forgive me, Master.
Please just get yourself to episode 3 and 5. Forget about the rest.
So
What
just
was-
forget about 4.
No,
What for?
1, 3, and 5.
1, 3, and 5.
What was 2? 2 can be skipped. 2 isn't great.
I'm probably gonna
Yeah.
have. I'm gonna watch all of them, so it's okay.
Watch all of them, yeah.
But from those who don't know much about What If, I don't know about those in chat that have watched What If. Not about who's the best Star Lord, but it's not even just Peter Quill, not even Star Lord. I mean, Raccoon's already judging a child in the very beginning of the movie for needing to hold their mother's hand while it walks. They judge Stan Lee for being a pervert and hooking up or trying to hook up with some young ladies. That's the and then you got fucking Groot drinking out of a fountain. There is no seriousness when it comes to this film.
But the one thing that in the middle of all this, like all the silliness that is going on in this movie, they laid a lot of groundwork for stuff that's now coming to fruition. They sowed the seeds very early on. So your stuff like your Celestial.
I mean,
And-
they sowed that in the very first film, right at the end, when they did the
Yeah.
full body scan of Peter Quill.
But they also they show a true Celestial, like one of
And they
the.
The head, isn't it?
No,
Yes,
there's two. They show two
Nowhere-
Celestials.
Nowhere.
Nowhere itself was a Celestial, and they actually
was.
show when they show the Power Stone being used
They show
on
one
that
of the
planet, that is a
Celestials
Celestial
being
doing
used.
so. And
Yeah.
again, my whole view of this movie is great. Now we're a bunch of idiots standing in a circle.
But one thing that,
It's a
that this
dance
movie-
off, bro.
yeah. I mean, the core cast of this movie, so the Guardians, I can't really speak to as being. I'm saying like, yes, I love this cast, but Yondu was excellent.
I can agree with you there.
The Collector was excellent. All these side characters and people who are not in the main view or aren't in the spotlight for the movie are so excellent.
Yeah, so like for me, and I don't try and look for who else could have played this part, who else could have done it better. What I appreciate is that for what I know about the movies and how well they have done in terms of, for my own personal sake, I can see that it's done extremely well. It is done very well in terms of keeping people entertained, first of all. going along with the story and giving information where need be, the right information as it goes. I mean, they fully explain what the fuck happened to Peter, but in a short enough like point, but it still makes fucking sense.
Yeah, and this movie is it's fun. It's very watchable, and it's a comment that Talora did make here as well is that it's necessary to the full picture. You cannot skip this movie.
Yeah, I mean, it fully shows, especially Ronan. You know,
yeah, he's gonna be so pissed off.
Ronan the Accuser.
But look, the villain in this wasn't great either. I did not like Ronan.
I think, like talking about how much this was pretty much put forward to give out a lot of information. Ronan was put in just as a here's something you should fight, but remember we're now giving out all this information.
Yeah,
So
and
there's
this
no
was also,
real
so,
like enemy or villain necessary in this
yeah.
film.
And this movie was more focused on getting the Infinity Stone than it was about beating the bad guy.
Yeah, and this is pretty much the first time where they threw in a villain because all hero movies has to have a villain. Where even if you
And
took Ronan out, it still would have done well. It still would have made sense.
But I think that's also why they followed this Guardians up immediately with the second Guardians chronologically.
Yes,
Like,
that it
give it a
happens.
billion.
Yes.
Yeah. But this is, as I was speaking about in the last episode, about how Marvel has certain movies that widen the scope. So Thor was the first one that widened it, making it okay. So we've got Earth and we've got Asgard. Earth is Midgard.
Jotunheim and
We've got all these realms that
Helheim, Alfheim, Jotunheim, all of them. All the
so
Heims.
it widened the scope. Now this movie went ahead and widened it even further, saying that here we have not only like this Asgard, which is a different plane. We've got Earth, but we've also got this entire galaxy that we can now explore.
So they widened it to the point of what someone comprehending their current standstill in today's life would understand.
Yes,
They
so
widened it to the point, the edges of the galaxy.
Yes, so now we've got, but it also it opened more. They're like, okay, so we've now got this whole galaxy that is full of people and stories that we can now tell, and we can the scope of the movies, or of their this wide open multiversal, multi-dimensional, multi-planetary playground that we're now in. It's like, okay, so we've got Earth, and now we've got these two places. Now we've got the galaxy, and as time's gone on, especially now, like we've got a couple different versions of what you know, and we're now able to traverse that, and we can show you what's happening.
And I think it also shows a more of a massive impact when Thanos is introduced.
Yes.
Because when they say, okay, half the life in the galaxy, people are like, okay, it's Earth, what,
It's
few
not that
few
much.
aliens. But then they show you this entire galaxy filled of beings.
Of people and stories and lives, and it really, I think that another thing other than the introduction of the another Infinity Stone and showing you all this extra stuff that is happening is this also serves to show you what's at stake if Thanos wins. Like we've got, go ahead.
I think, like you're saying, but I think a film like Guardians of the Galaxy is the stepping off point for films like Eternals that are coming in the future.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's the future of the MCU.
You can't just throw aliens at people. You can't just throw spaceships at people. This was a stepping stone, a slight stepping stone into a broader variety. I mean, Thor was already the first stepping stone, as we spoke about, being outside of the different planes and stuff. Then Guardians of the Galaxy took it that step further. Now
Yeah.
Eternals isn't going to be the shock. I mean, if they continued with everything happening on Earth,
The
who's,
the Marvel is incrementally making the playing field bigger. So it's not going. Okay, here we've got Earth and planets and multiverse. We're going. Okay, so it's a little bit. Here's a little bit. Here's a little bit. So that it's it's easier to digest all the stuff that's happening. So that when we get to multiverse of madness, we're like, okay, so we've got all of this going on, and we know why it's going on, and we've had time to digest in little pieces how big this universe truly is.
so, yeah,
Another comment here is like this is I believe that Guardians was the inflection point where they start to say there is bigger things than just this handful of small time bad guys that we've shown you. There is the real big bads
I mean,
who
we've
are
seen Marvel deal with a lot,
we've
but
seen
that's
them deal with a
only
lot.
on Earth.
Yeah, and now what they or it's only on Earth or it's only on Asgard. One
Or
of the
the
both.
Chitauri, which is the only alien race ever involved outside of the Asgardians.
So now they're starting to show what a true Avengers level threat is.
And I think another step that Marvel took in the right direction was Loki. Now they've shown you this wider view of this Earth and everything in it. Now let's remind you, there's more than one.
Mm.
There are
And
different versions of everything that happens.
but
So they took it that extra step.
that's why I'm saying like later on. So now they've said here's a universe. And then what happened with Loki is they're like there's multiple universes. So they're doing it in small steps.
The right way to do it. I mean,
Yes.
again, that's why this makes it so appealing. And I'm going to compare it to DC. DC throws you all over the fucking joint. When it comes to their animations and their live actions, out of nowhere, shit from different planets, different times, different races and stuff is involved, but there isn't fluidity to it.
Yeah.
So
Where this
it's-
they allow all of this extra time. They've accounted for the time for people understanding.
and
what
that's
is
why
happening.
people enjoy it a lot more because they can understand it.
And they can see what's going on.
I mean, no one understands it as much as Talora. But again, they can definitely see what happens in this movie because there's so much fucking color.
Yeah.
Space is
And-
green,
Just watch all the
guys.
movies
Space is
over
green.
and over again.
Just watch
Just
them all
watch
up.
all the movies over and over and over again, and you'll eventually get it.
That's what they all said.
Shall we move on to the second last?
Yes. So this all then ties into
You
Avengers Age.
awesome movie. It is great.
Meh. Just meh.
Great. It is a good movie.
It was a good movie. It wasn't a great movie. It wasn't the best movie, but it was a good movie.
It was so when they draw the line of increase of movies in its popularity and its interest, it then leveled the bar and then shot up more. I'm not saying it was horrible. I'm not saying it dropped the bar lower than what it was, but it didn't necessarily for me pick it up.
This
Look-
film for me was it's like a special film in my life because I saw them filming the scene where Hulk and Iron Man are in
Joburg.
that city that isn't Joburg. In
Dude,
the film.
it's got
We-
JFPT.
Yeah, we saw the number plate say JP on them, GP on them. We know it's from a Gauteng province, okay?
They shut down the entirety of the CBD, and my bus route was completely disrupted. And I remember
This was
walking past the
college.
set being
Yep.
yes.
Oh
That's
shit, yes, I
2013.
remember. Oh
I mean, I
damn.
was so excited because I got to, and I'm pretty sure I saw Mark Ruffalo from like, like
Right.
You know, you
Oh.
could touch him with that, just stroke it a little bit, and yeah. Robert Downey Jr. in that Iron Man suit. The Hulk
Like
pasta.
I think it was there were 3 days where they shut down the city to film this, and every day I walked past and I stood there and I was so excited and I was like, it's special for me because I got to see what goes behind the making of these
Yeah.
massive films.
Now the
It was
next project we are doing is we are taking the Joburg scene and breaking it down scene by
Yeah.
scene to see if we see Talora
Laura.
popping up, walking to college, and then trying to dodge from buildings falling on.
Um,
And also they introduced an Afrikaner.
yeah, but he's played by an Englishman.
Yeah, I don't care. He does very well. He
he
does.
did.
He did
He
very well in the film. I think he did very awesome, and I mean, he continued into Black Panther as well. So I appreciated it. It did very well, in my opinion.
I
uh,
really did appreciate it as well.
so for me, Age of Ultron has got one of the most interesting villains
By
because
far,
he was
yes.
literally born yesterday.
Yeah. Well, so was fucking Vision, who can now
No,
wield the hammer.
but the difference is that Jarvis was he had been he had been Tony's primary artificial intelligence for years. So he was a lot older because Ultron sort of just comes about and he
Well, he was
what
pulled
was it,
from the
Mind
stone,
Stone.
from the
Yeah,
Mind Stone. Yeah.
well, it was the Mind Stone mixing with Jarvis creating the software. So he was very he was he had the understanding of thank you Blueberry Dogs too for following.
Yeah. Thank you. So yeah, no, like the one thing, I mean, I did put a note here for this is it's a nice take on the idea. I mean, a lot of movies have taken on the idea of AI taking over the world. I mean, you have Terminator and all of that type of bullshit, but this is him.
I'm gonna hear him screaming from.
Ooh, if Connor can speak louder when my internet breaks, then at least I'll know what the fuck is being said when it breaks. So
Okay, so like
so I appreciated this one. I'm going to say this very quickly until my internet fucks out. I appreciated this one very much in terms of its take on AI not appreciating or not liking mankind for all of the shit that they've done. He went through the whole of the internet and the whole of history and stuff like that he could, and you could see that the biggest infestation in the earth were humans. But it obviously took a lot to get there. And it's played very well. It's not him creating this massive fuck. I mean, there was a bit of an army, but the Avengers could handle it, sort of shit. But it dealt with it in the fact that this man was trying, in his mind, trying to do right, but obviously doing it in the wrong manner.
do you know what? There's something about Vision. What I've noticed that Marvel does, Vision, they give him the most intelligent conversations. Like he has these really incredible, intuitive conversations with you see it in Wonder Vision where he has that conversation with White Vision. Spoiler alert, I guess.
No, we.
And
Oh
we spoke
no!
about
Oh,
it.
that was, and I've told Connor that was my favorite scene. Is
I,
when they
I'm
just
I'm
talk about the boat.
I'm dead sure that that's how they're bringing Vision back to the MCU.
No, definitely.
and then and then you see him have this conversation again with Ultron at the you know
Part that's left.
yes, and they always give him like really interesting conversations.
And it's always about the conversations are always around what it is to be like
In
be
its
consciously
existence.
alive.
Yeah.
It is very existential.
And I'm sorry, but James Spader, ooh, that voice of that man, playing as Ultron, the perfect fit for an intellectual, robotic villain.
But
James
one
Spader
thing-
singing, "There are no strings to hold me down."
But one thing that I also appreciated is, which happens a lot in the movie, is Ultron will experience an emotion, and you can actually see how they handle, or in animating him like coming to terms with the fact that he's now felt something, something that's not just computed. Like when he cuts off,
what's his
Andy
name?
Serkis's arm. I don't know what the character's
Yeah.
name is, but Andy Serkis's arm. He like cuts it off and he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that," because he got angry and he lashed out.
Yeah, it was sort of like reaction, and then him going,
Mm.
"Wait, did I
I
just go through an
yeah.
emotional step?" But he understands and recognizes he's an artificial intelligence.
No, that he
He's
shouldn't.
never learned impulse control. He's
Yeah,
never learned that.
so
And
it's
his creator is Tony Stark, the most impulsive character in the MCU.
so it kind of makes sense why Jarvis is like, "Yes, I've been dealing with this prick my whole fucking life. If I just get a bad version of me, I'm gonna put him in a suit and fuck him up."
Yeah, and I mean, Ultron has been a long time villain of the Avengers, and seeing this, I'm glad that they did do the villain an amount of justice.
And look, to be honest, in terms of the AI and him being able to interact with the internet, I don't see it as an absolute end for an appearance of Ultron.
No, I think Ultron's dead. I'm fairly certain that Ultron that
I'm
this is
fairly
that was
certain
the-
he can be recreated
No,
very
but
easily.
no, I'm not saying that he can't, but I don't think. I think as per the MCU, Ultron is dead. They will not bring him back. 'Cause
Fine,
they've
bring
got-
him back in a series. We'll understand.
I don't think that. I think that Ultron's time is done. They've now got.
Connor, I'm
I-
saying they must. I'm not saying they
I
are.
think-
They
They
must.
won't.
They
They
fucking
You think
better.
about how everybody hates Ultron, they will not bring him back.
They won't.
People hated this film.
But I mean, again, you hating Ultron as a villain. What is the purpose
No,
of the
no,
villain?
no. I think they hated Ultron as a character. So not
Yeah.
not like
I
people.
appreciated him for the character. I hated the whole everything going on in.
No, but people hated the character Ultron.
They
So
really did.
they won't.
People, I'm telling you, your opinions are wrong.
But
Okay.
you know,
You didn't
the other
hate
thing,
it.
the other thing
No,
about
I like
this,
Ultron.
this movie is they introduced Wanda and they introduced Pietro, who they very quickly killed off. But
They really quickly
Let's
killed
just
them all.
not talk about that false fucking Quicksilver bullshit, please. They introduced the right one
hated
in the
that
One
death.
Division. It's
I
Hawkeye's
have nothing to
shield.
say
Don't
about
worry.
that.
It's Hawkeye's shield.
But the thing, I need to recover from that.
Oh, sorry.
The introduction of Wanda, you can already see that. Yes, we've seen her in a post-credit scene, all good and well, but in this film, you can see that she's very powerful, and she doesn't even know how powerful she is. She doesn't understand the motives. She just thinks, okay, I'm angry, I'm gonna lash out, just like Ultron.
They give a brief explanation in the beginning when they're showing the twins and their creation, or they're forming into this. A brief explanation as to why these twins are there. Obviously, there was some bad
But
inclusion in
I-
it. But what confused me first of all is they had the fucking. What stone did they use to create them?
Mind Stone.
Mine
But
Stone.
I think it was a similar thing with they never learned. They never became well-rounded people because they were taken from the bombing straight into essentially a Hydra internment camp and turned into weapons.
And then they got her to play with bricks with her mind. Those building blocks with the letters. And
But I also dislike the fact that they took one of the biggest Marvel
characters.
or not characters, but one that sits so close to the core of the mutants, and they're like, oh no, she's just an enhanced human.
Not only that,
Did you
they
hear the
took
theory?
the twin brother
hear
and
the
shot
theory?
him.
I heard the theory.
The One Division theory.
Yeah.
The Hex.
No,
Okay.
wait, what?
okay.
Was it?
Okay, so there's a theory that the Hex is going to be the way they introduce mutants into the MCU, being that anybody that crossed the boundary, they would basically they activated the X gene.
Oh,
So
and that's
they-
why the Marvels.
Yes.
I
So that's how
I dislike
Monica
that
gets-
though.
I'm excited about it, but I'm not excited about how they're doing it.
I
I'm
want to
excited
see what
into the
they
MCU.
do. I want to see
Well-
how they play on one information they've given out so far regarding the Hex and all of this in the introduction, and how they morph it into what could potentially be really good or really fucking bad.
Really? Yeah, because if they could introduce the mutants and all the stuff, because they could have like um not necessarily the X-Men, but they could have X-Force, they could have Wolverine. Everybody's been waiting for Channing Tatum to show up as Gambit. We've
Well,
been waiting for that for
let's
years.
put this forward. They have introduced the correct Quicksilver in the WandaVision. They introduced
And
the correct Shield.
is it canon that Deadpool's officially in the MCU? Is that
No.
was that posting just a hoax or what?
Nah,
It's
there's been
probably a
nothing.
hoax.
There's been nothing to
No,
say.
go and look at Ryan Reynolds' Instagram. Go and look. A couple weeks back, he posted a thing. Welcome to the MCU. Taika Waititi did the same thing, and then they did a whole skit with Deadpool and Korg.
Oh, I saw that. Yes, I like that. That was
So I
a lot
don't.
of fun.
So
Van
I don't
City
know how-
Reynolds. Van City Reynolds. Um,
And like the caption is "Welcome to the MCU." Or Deadpool.
Deadpool is officially in the MCU. He's
Deadpool
starting with, like-
3 Deadpool
No,
3
okay.
will join the MCU as an R-rated movie according to Marvel Studios President Kevin Feige.
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 Sorry. And then Ryan Reynolds continues on that tweet saying, "Full disclosure, I showed them Spider-Man 1 and 2 and told them it was Deadpool 1 and 2."
Deadpool is officially in the MCU. This makes me think it's a joke, because it says he's starting with reaction videos, then some social onto Park's appearances, all leading up to some after credit work by 2030. So that makes me think it's a joke, but I can imagine that because Disney owns Fox, and Fox owns Deadpool.
There's another tweet by Ryan Reynolds saying, "Audition for the role of Anthony Stark didn't come even remotely close, but the nice man with the taser escorted me out the ground." I'm sorry, I just love that. He posts like when you think Deadpool, just go read Ryan Reynolds' tweets and you can only think Deadpool.
No, Deadpool.
Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool, as RDJ is Tony Stark. Well, Tony Stark is RDJ. Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds.
Do you guys have any other remarks about Age of Ultron?
I have one more thing to say. They
What
tried
is
to
it?
force a romance that had no place being there. That whole Natasha Bruce thing was weird.
I
It was
ca-
not. It was
I
awful.
kind of like.
real low.
I like the way that they played off of that. The sun's getting low.
Yeah, sun's getting low, sun's getting low, sun's getting low. When fucking Iron Man's punching the shit out of his face. Sun's getting low, sun's getting low, sun's getting low.
And then you see it again in
in
Ragnarok?
Ragnarok. Yeah, where it's like, sun's getting low, everything's gonna be fine. Don't worry.
I'm a little bit of a comic purist in terms of if Natasha had to be with anybody, it would have to either be Bucky and or Steve. Wait, not Andrew.
Oh, hey.
Talora,
Best way is a
Talora,
three-way.
Tell us about your
Your-
fanfic that you've been reading.
Best way is a three-way.
I'm gonna just keep quiet.
It's your man's and my man's.
Wait.
Okay.
You know I'm a fan fiction reader. This is a
Yes,
fact.
I'm very aware.
God, if there is one saved specifically for this sort of interaction, we might have a problem.
Hey,
I'm about to get a link. I'm waiting.
Just forward it on to me. I'll put it up.
and you know the fact that I read fan fiction is how I've come across some of the weirdest things on the internet. And
Yeah.
Oh gosh, no. Wait, I'm just gonna keep my links to myself and carry on. with my
No,
life.
we'll share them and we'll talk about them next
We'll
time
stick them
on
in
phase
chat.
3.
Um,
So
I don't know. I kind of like the Nat Bruce love story.
I feel
thing.
like if they gave it more reasoning,
More time.
more time as to why the fuck is Nat all of a sudden trying to calm down this big angry giant, unless she likes what's hanging down low in the
He was
doorbell, you
trying
know?
to get his angry giant.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I'm about to Hulk out. Don't worry, babe. Continue. I'm ready." Like, unless that is the way they were going with it, which definitely
Oh
is
god.
not. There was
I've got
actually
I've got comments that are going to I'm gonna say please remind me to give you guys these comments because this will get us banned on Twitch if I say the following words.
so I'll throw it to chat. What is your opinion of Ultron? Was he a good villain? Do you hate him as a character? What was the purpose?
Great
Are you guys
villain.
even interested? Or was this just another meh movie in the Marvel line of meh?
Mint movie.
Fucking mint.
Fucking mint movie. I love.
So then
And then
going on to the final, which people would have seen right at the fucking beginning because I was on the wrong screen. But we will talk.
yes,
This is close to what Connor sounds like when he talks about Spider-Man.
yes. But that's because I love Paul Rudd. I love the man. He
He's
can do no
amazing.
wrong.
Fucking the scene in the
He
coffee shop
is
that he had where he talks about the tall grande and venti means 20, so you're stupid in three languages. And it laughs so hard. You know someone's going to spit in your coffee for that.
But
Someone is
he's-
going to.
he's also aged like fine wine.
That man
he's
is
a-
like
he's a
fucking Keanu Reeves. He will never
gorgeous
fucking
man.
die.
Um,
No, there's paintings of someone who looked exactly like Keanu Reeves from the early
like,
1600s
yeah.
or whatever. Looks identical to Keanu Reeves.
and Keanu Reeves is barely aged.
And
since-
if you talk about like from the Matrix trilogy going forward, Keanu Reeves, other than growing facial hair, should he shave it, looks the fucking same.
pretty much.
If
Yeah.
he shaves off his
Okay,
beard, he
I'm-
looks the fucking same.
I haven't paid attention to Keanu Reeves at all.
Don't worry,
I've
not a
never
lot of
watched
people do.
Matrix film, so
Ooh,
How do you
I think I've only
Connor.
ever seen him in that Netflix film where he actually plays a character as
Always Be My Maybe.
Yes.
Oh,
That's
haven't
an
you watched
excellent-
him as the shrubbery or the bush from SpongeBob?
SpongeBob.
He is the
Obviously his
wise
most iconic
tumbleweed.
role.
Yeah, he's tumbleweed. Thank you.
Tumbleweed.
He's a tumbleweed guru thing.
What?
I don't fucking know. I
It's
haven't watched the
ridiculous.
movie. It's the most ridiculous thing.
But
But back to Iron Man.
I mean Ant-Man.
Uh,
So my journey with Ant-Man is I only watched it during my last rewatch. I had somehow missed the Ant-Man movies.
what?
Yeah.
You missed the entirety of the creation of Ant-Man.
Yeah, I somehow skipped over Ant-Man.
Well,
and
we got to
Ant-Man
call it
and the Wasp.
It's Ant-Man Junior. I mean, there was.
Okay, so
Pym and his wife were Ant-Man
Right.
and the Wasp before, but we'll
So-
skip that.
there's a bit of contention there because Pym wasn't always Ant-Man. He was Yellow Jacket and he was the Horn. So he was Ant-Man in the MC, but he hasn't always been Ant-Man.
Fair.
But
Because again, it was his technology that made all of that.
yeah, and also originally Hank Pym was the founder of the Avengers.
Mm.
Yep.
He was the first Avenger. But I loved this movie. It was funny without being overly silly. Like the Guardians movies are silly, but Ant-Man was so funny. Like the stuff with Louise, where he's like, "I was at this wine tasting," and
I was just about to say the scenes with him
What
talking over people, and then you got this woman talking, but it's lip syncing to his voice, and
and
it
dude,
is
was
amazing.
so and the way that they conveyed that with the with them having the same like tics going like, and then he was like doing stuff like that and having the person who's miming what he's saying. It was wonderful. All of the Ant-Man was great except for the villain. Marvel's got a bit of a problem with their villains. They don't have great villains.
Again, like Marvel, like Guardians of the Galaxy, the whole idea of the villain in this concept is the movie needed a villain for an introduction to how Ant-Man was created, or the purpose of Paul Rudd's Ant-Man and the creation of this character. They needed to put some reason as to why they're putting him into the film. What is his reason for getting into the suit? So even though it was a very short, fight with a villain and dealing with a villain, the fact that they give you a nice long explanation of how Ant-Man became Ant-Man, then threw a little bit of a villain at you, which can be a thing later on when it comes to the Yellow Jacket and stuff like that. It then obviously grows even further when it came down to Ant-Man and the Wasp. Not just some guy gets in a suit, somehow now knows how to do everything he does.
Yeah, he's really dropped into the deep end.
Yeah, it's he's put into, listen, you're gonna go to jail for the rest of your life, never see your daughter, or you can put on the suit and we can teach you how to use it and you can do right.
Another so the side characters in this were also excellent. So we had
Starting off with Michael Pena.
Mike Pena. I don't know how to say Kurt's surname, the actor who plays Kurt, but I love the
Polka
fact
Dot
that
Man.
Dash Mulchain.
He plays Polka Dot Man in
Yes,
Suicide Squad.
yes.
And I love the fact that he came back. It was him in
What? Yes, for What If?
Baba Yaga.
We also have
was
like
just
Bobby
excellent.
Cannavale as Paxton being the husband to his previous wife, his current husband to the previous wife,
And-
sort of thing.
And TR as Dave, which
Dave.
is part of the and
The Darren Cross, Corley Stoll being Darren
One-
Cross, the main villain in this.
one of the best characters in the MCU, Randall Park as Jimmy Woo.
As
There is
there is always that one character in any group of movies that no matter where you go, as soon as you see him, and like that character,
Yeah.
it is Woo. You see him in
Yes.
WandaVision,
We have
fucking
Woo.
Woo.
because one of
What'd
my
you say,
favorite
T?
things.
Sorry, T, what you say?
I said we've been wooed.
Yeah,
We've been
fucking
wooed.
100% will not disagree.
So one of my favorite little, because Marvel had these little like things, like blink and you'll miss it things in their movies, tidbits. And one of my favorite is that so Agent Wu sees Scott doing the card tricks. In WandaVision, when he hands what was her name? Monica.
Monica.
When he hands Monica his business card, he palms the card to give it to her. It was the same thing that Scott does. So you can see the direct influence that Scott had on Agent Wu.
Sorry,
And I
this just epitomizes everything you're just talking about. the magic, and then magic. Don't even focus on the whole Neville thing. I think it was just a different meme that I saw that was more detailed. But it's like explaining this is their magic, this is their magic, this is Scott's magic.
Yeah, and I love the fact that there's that little connection that you can see.
I think it was fantastic because they were watching a video of doing magic tricks, and then Wu was also watching videos as well about magic tricks, and then took it into the WandaVision set and stuff like that.
That's what I'm saying, is that there's that direct influence. You can see Scott did the card trick. Wu saw that and he wanted to know how to do it. He learns and then he does it in his day-to-day
Job.
agent
Yeah.
job.
I think
And then also Evangeline Lillian is in this movie.
yeah, so just first of all, amazing cast, amazing actors, group all together. I mean, not to say much about the villain, but again, the villain was a bit dry. But as I said earlier, the villain wasn't really the focus of the movie.
That Marvel has an issue with their villains.
Yeah, but if this was Ant-Man versus Yellow Jackets, you would understand that would be just right to say that the villain needs more reason and oomph and stuff. But this isn't. This is Ant-Man.
But
What were
I
you
think
gonna say?
this was more of a Ant-Man movie. It was just an introduction to Ant-Man and his crazy, like, little life as the Ant-Man. And we do see a little introduction of Cassie, who goes on to eventually become
Stature.
a young, yes, and I believe a young Avenger. Or
She's part of the Young Avengers, yeah.
so
With
like you,
Torres.
we we're gonna see that come into fruition.
Yeah. Well, that depends if she is going to take on the
Well,
stature moniker.
the thing is, they've recast her. So what's the point of recasting the character if you're not going to
It
do
means there
anything?
is a step coming,
There's
which
something
yeah,
coming.
and and agreed. Like again, this is Ant-Man's introduction to the rest of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. If you watch this compared to Ant-Man 2, Ant-Man 2's villain was a lot better. There was a lot more information, detail. Everything was a hell of a lot better in the comparison between the two. But that's because it was then Ant-Man and the Wasp, and they're actually dealing with like the them being superheroes and doing
I
the superhero thing.
I still don't think that the villain was all that great, but I have my belief is still that Marvel's weakest part of any of their movies is the villain for the most part. I mean, there are good villains. If we look at, that's a lot of scrolling. No, Red Skull kind of, Loki definitely. Ultron, and then it kind of goes
What
blank
about
until we get to Vulture.
yeah? Because well, Dormammu was no, he wasn't really a villain, was he?
No, he was just the power source that the villains, the
Yeah,
same way
true.
that the ancient one was using. And then like
Ego.
Dormammu.
Ego, I didn't think he was a good villain either.
Ego is a fucking planet with ironically a big fucking ego.
And then
And
then we
I will argue that Thunderbolt Ross is a villain. I don't like him.
Well,
he
that
is a
again, if you don't like him, you don't like the introduction or the character in the film, compared to I don't like him because he's a villain type of thing. If you do it in the manner that I don't like him because he's a bad guy, then the movie's doing justice. It's meant to make you hate that character.
No. They're doing a good job of making me hate him.
but you're hating the character, not
Well,
Not the portrayal.
not the villain.
and everything that, and everything that he's leading up to. I mean, I
But-
really dislike Thunderbolt Ross.
I mean, there've been a couple good villains, but that's much later on. And this may be my bias talking, but Michael Keaton's Vulture, I thought was
Definitely, yes.
great. Then Killmonger was awesome.
Ooh, there was a Forrest Whitaker eye going
I
on
was
at Talora right
I
there.
was gonna say Killmonger. I was going to say
Killmonger.
I was going down the list as we've got it listed here. Killmonger was an awesome villain.
I think
because
for me personally, he was one of the top. I mean, throwing aside the whole 2 movie requirements for Thanos, I'm just looking at one
you
movie
mean like
solely.
a 2-episode requirement for the end of the Infinity Saga?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just, I think for a standalone, if you look at bad guys from a standalone movie aspect, he's my favorite.
Killmonger.
Killmonger is the best villain if you're looking at like for instance, just
Yeah.
Black Panther or just
So-
Ant-Man or just Iron Man.
I think that the failing is that they don't give their villains good enough motivation. Killmonger had
He had the
great
perfect motivation.
yes.
And you see it again with Stereo. Not a great villain either.
Yeah, listen, I wanted to go
Well,
back. At one point, I did make a note that let me see for which
Okay,
movie.
while Dylan does that, Vulture also great motivation. He wanted to keep his family safe, or he wanted to be able to provide for his family. That's why he was doing what he was doing.
So
okay.
it was for Iron Man 3.
Yes.
Iron Man 3, and we spoke about the whole bitchiness of. I told you I'll forget his fucking name.
The Mandalorian.
No, AIM, the guy from AIM,
Aldrich.
Aldridge, Killian. At one point, you start wondering if really Iron Man is the bad guy, or he's just a straight up dick. He created Mysterio, Stark Industries or Obadiah Stane created the guy who assisted Mysterio in becoming the dickhead that he is. He also created this Aldrich Killian fuck up. The main point here is that Iron Man is a douche. When it came down to him, all the villains are Iron Man's exes. In other words,
They're all Iron Man's fault.
yeah. This is your one of Connor's favorite movies.
So
Versus
just
the
I just want
world.
to comment on that.
It's they all versing Iron Man's exes. That's what they're doing.
So in
The
other
7
words,
deadly exes.
Yeah.
so basically an episode of What If Tony Stark wasn't born, we wouldn't have any problems.
Yeah,
no, we'd still
well,
have Thanos, but
fucking
Thanos would have just
no,
died.
no. Thanos. If you look at most of it, Thanos started fighting people. I mean, he would have done the snap at a later stage, but he maybe would have succeeded but never have touched Earth because none of the fucking stones were on Earth. It was because of the Avengers that they got to Earth. Except for the time stone. Except for the time stone.
No, the time stone and the space stone were both on.
How did the
Yeah.
space stone get there? Loki.
It was.
It was
no,
in.
it
It was
no, it
in
was
that.
It was on
Odin-
Earth. Odin hid it on
Odin-
Earth.
Yeah.
Wasn't it in that
in
box that Loki
Norway?
was used? That he
No.
took from the
They-
vault?
No.
They hid it. He hid it in that church in. Was it
It
Norway?
Oh yeah,
it was a Slavic
in
country.
yeah,
So
with
two of
Hydra.
two of the Infinity Stones were on Earth. So, even
But I mean,
so-
Thanos
so-
comes in quickly, he sends his goons, they go fetch the two stones and piece the fuck out of there.
so by the time Thanos was looking for the stones, the time stone would have been in Hydra's, under Hydra's, under Shield's jurisdiction. They would have had it, because in the 90s, Fury
Carol.
gets it. Carol and Fury
So
get
we'll fight hard on this one. If you look long enough at Thanos, he's somehow related to Tony Stark and somehow one of his exes. I'm guaranteeing it. People will make fan fiction about it. They can do whatever the fuck they like.
it. Oh, God,
Somehow,
I don't
want to know about that either. But somehow, someone can write enough information of what we've seen in the MCU to somehow link Thanos directly. Besides the fact that Thanos knows Tony Stark the most out of all of the Avengers, when he refers to him directly after the first Avengers. It's that whole thing of there is definitely a connection between them, sweetie, and we need to see it.
Well, we're not going to see it now. Because he's dead, Dylan.
Yes, I snapped my fingers. Didn't? Well, you can't see it. I did it with my left hand.
Well, dead-ish.
He lives
they're
long
talking
on in
about-
our hearts.
No, they're talking about a holographic Tony Stark in Ironheart.
Well, yeah. I mean,
That I could-
that's
yeah, I
that,
could
that's fine.
understand.
RDJ can have a little bit of a slow down into retirement sort of thing, you know. Give that man the last few bells as he goes down, you know, swinging.
But we'll see when Ironhearts eventually get.
But a lot coming. We still have phase 3 to talk about, which we'll do in a couple of weeks as well.
I am so excited. Phase 3 has got some of my favorite Marvel movies.
I think one thing, well, because first of all, it has Spider-Man in it.
Not only does it have Spider-Man, it's got Civil War, it's got Doctor Strange, it's
Yes,
Spider-Man, it's got
it's got one
Ragnarok,
of. Funny enough, it's got one of my
Wait,
favorite
wait,
characters
wait.
being Doctor Strange. So
Not-
I'm
not-
Oh my word!
I'm a
So
fan.
my opinion about Doctor Strange is gonna cheese both of you off.
Oh, don't
Probably,
worry.
'cause I love Doctor
Again, the whole purpose here is to give your opinions, whether you're right or wrong. We don't give a fuck. We enjoy the content.
But
We all know how I feel about in Marvel movies in general, and for me to dislike a character
you dislike Doctor Strange.
because we don't really know him. We spent all of one film with him where he was being an asshole.
We spent the whole one film with Ant-Man and he was being a dumbass, yet we love the fuck out of him.
Lovable dumbass.
Yeah, I like
But
the fact that he can pull a bullet out of someone's head and then can't drive a fucking car. He's a moron.
Like, you'll see when.
And
we
then has
talk
to
about
beg and
Doctor
plead with his
Strange.
with his manky rank ass hands because some guy that couldn't walk can now walk, and now he's jealous of the guy. I'm like, the guy got his fucking legs back. Calm down, you and your hands
I
that still work.
Okay, so I do like you see I like the bits of Strange that we have seen, but I also I love magic. I love fantasy. That is some of my favorite shit. And getting to see the way that they handled it in the MCU. But
We're looking
that
at
is
it from this perspective. Con and I are massive D&D lovers. When it
Yeah.
comes down to the magic, the fantasy, this whole other world of possibilities and shit you could do by just doing this a lot, sort of thing. A guy can do it with a nub, sort of thing. Like how amazing that type of shit is. It's taking what we've seen as scientific, as what we've seen as outside of this world
shall we
a
stop talking
magical
about
thing.
this, guys?
No, like
Because we've got a
We've got
yeah.
our whole episode.
We've got phase 3.
So is Far From Home part of phase?
No, that's phase. Yeah, that is phase 3. It's the
Phase
end of
three.
phase 3.
So phase 3 has got 2 Spider-Man movies, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Civil War, and Ragnarok, and then of course the Infinity movie and another Ant-Man movie. It's just fucking great.
So
But
phase
people-
3 was the biggest end. Well, I mean, obviously we don't really have much to compare it to. It was a big end
We'll
to.
see when the Avengers kick.
Yeah, but I mean, if we're looking at it from what we've seen so far, phase 3 is the biggest end of that era of what we're going to be seeing regarding the Avengers and Captain America and all of that type of stuff.
That was the core Avengers.
And
team,
now,
but
now
we'll,
phase 4 is starting the next.
But we'll figure out how we're gonna do phase 3 because I think we are going to
We can
need
split
a
it.
bit time.
I think we split that one up into phase 3A, phase 3B.
Or phase 3.
We can, for
think-
instance, split the Spider-Man movies and the
I think we'll need to
Avengers and stuff like that.
We can speak
We'll
about,
discuss.
We can speak about everything except the Avengers movies, and then we just have one episode where we blow out on Avengers.
Yeah, that's gonna be a long fucking episode.
3
Talora,
hours of.
you
Yeah,
were
sorry.
Give
muted
me
there.
3.
No, you're good now.
Are you gonna?
You can give me 3 hours to talk about Endgame, and I will just complain about Steve's arc.
That's America's ass.
Let's cut that to 1.5, and you can complain about it for the second half of that. But yeah, no, I'm done. I love the MCU. I love Ant-Man. It's one of my faves. And I don't know if you guys have got any set or last bits that you want to say.
No, again, I was at the throw to chat. We spoke about how many, fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 movies. Out of the 6 movies, and ignoring Thor: Dark World, so 5 movies that we actually really gave a shit about. What was your best out of the phase 2? Put it down in the comments below for those who are watching on YouTube. In the chat, put it up while we still have a few more minutes left going. But again, from my side, there's nothing else to Laura.
You know what? I just want to like put my appreciation for these films out onto the internet, because when you're feeling down, you put on a Marvel and you can feel a bit better.
Not Dark World though.
No, look at this. So I got my 5G chip.
Violent.
No, I got my 5G chip in on Tuesday, and on Wednesday I was actually feeling really shit. But then, and Connor's gonna love this, I actually watched Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Yes.
And I sat there the entire day, and I just loved it. I mean, hating the purpose of Mysterio and all of that type of shit, but I mean, that's a villain. That's the purpose of it. But Jake Gyllenhaal's perspective or work on it was fantastic.
Jake Gyllenhaal's portrayal of Mysterio was great, but Mysterio was not a great villain.
Yeah, but there's so much more that could be dealt with, and well, sort of.
But-
Again, Marvel itself is that pick me up. That's it's become what people used to, as we talk about the nerds having this thing that they would do by themselves. It's now become the world's method of, like, when you're feeling down, when you're feeling excited. If you don't know what to do for a date night movie, put on a fucking Marvel movie. Everyone's gonna love it,
But I'm still
except for Thor: Dark World.
I'm still convinced that Marvel is one of the main reasons why nerd culture, as I grew up as a nerd. I grew up being ostracized for the stuff that I enjoyed, And now the stuff that I loved growing up, fantasy and superheroes and sci-fi, is so accepted. And I think it's because of stuff like
Marvel.
this, like Marvel, who have brought it into the public's eyes to say this isn't for weird little mouth breathers in the corner. This is for everyone. Everybody can
Let's.
love this.
What Marvel has done is they said, so remember those comic books you teased that kid about? Let me show you a cinematic version of what it really fucking is,
Let's show you
and then
what.
remind you that this person read the fucking pictures. They went through a lot fucking more.
I mean, do you know what? It's like, for me, the reason I love The Winter Soldier as much as I do is because I love a film score that makes me feel goosebumps. And you rarely get that from a film where you actually like you feel all these emotions from watching this film. And there's one other series where the score has made me feel that way, and that's Bodyguard on Netflix. If you just sit there with headphones, you actually have such a sensory experience. And it's the same thing that I feel about the
What series is this?
so Bodyguard on Netflix with Richard Madden. But it's
I'll have
something
to take a look.
you have to watch it with headphones because it's
So
it's such a sensory experience.
I mean, people are gonna wonder why you guys are absolute buggery. You guys
Oh,
want everything pop culture, everything and anything to do with pop culture, and then yet you talk about Marvel a lot. We've got to remind people that what you guys are now seeing as pop culture, you're seeing Marvel as pop culture. Whereas what we see as pop culture are the comic books that were involved, or all the writing and stuff that came out. I mean, we look at in depth in time, like mostly for me, like in depth of the music that is involved in Guardians of the Galaxy. There's a lot more detail thrown into it than just the
I mean, every.
cinematic shit thrown at you
I mean,
that you just enjoy for the goblin goo.
on my um uh on my playlist that I use for when I'm every now and then like a Marvel score pops up in there, and it then I'm in it.
And then you start like pumping yourself up and you
I'm
start
like
getting ready and you do better. Like there was at one point where Connor and I were talking. He was going through his rewatch of Marvel, and just the conversation that comes out of it starts piping up everyone around you. You
yeah.
can go into a random crowd and start talking about Marvel. Are you
I
Cap
mean
or Iron Man? Are
I mean
you Wakanda Forever type of shit? But
when I
everyone
was
finds a link.
when I was doing my watch through, and for people who don't know Stephanie as my wife, doesn't care about Marvel at all, but she went and she watched Endgame with her brother and her. We watched it.
And
While I was
Captain Marvel.
watching, and we went to go watch Captain Marvel, but she came with us to watch Endgame. With the express purpose of actually watching it. And when we got, when I was rewatching, she asked me to like because I was listening on headphones. She's like, "No, can I turn up the sound on the Avengers Assemble moment because it was so iconic."
The
It is.
we have to hold this
Oh,
feeling that we have when we talk about it because this is exactly what we're talking about.
but that's what I'm talking about. That's that Goosey's moment where you get the
It's
goosebumps.
the
And
Goblin Goo
oh,
Talora.
So I talk about it because it's the biggest thing that I have when people are talking about pop cultures. When I went to watch Black Panther in cinemas,
yes.
the entire crowd was going berserk over, yes, because it's an African character being portrayed as a superhero type of thing
And I
and
mean,
living
Black
in an
Panther's
African country.
been around for I think
Yeah, but how many
decades.
of these, and not to put anyone to doubt or shame or to say that they're not fans or anything, how many of them actually knew who the fuck Black Panther was
Hmm.
until
Black Panther
Marvel
was
decided, fuck it, let's make a movie?
Black
And
Panther was a very uh, was a lesser known, much like Doctor Strange or Marvel, was far less known than people like.
And yet I walk around in the streets and I see people actually have the chain of the one
yeah,
suit that
So
T'Challa
the
had,
teeth.
the teeth that then form into the suit. Like people are wearing that chain and they've got the
Dude,
Wakanda shirts.
one of the best things that's ever happened is I was Steph and I had gone shopping the one day. I think it was at West here, and there was this guy, this black guy walking, and I saw he had the silver chain on. As I was driving past him, I rolled down my window and I was like, "Wakanda forever!" And he goes like this, and I just drive off, and I was like, "Yes!"
Can I make this better, Connor? It wasn't in the West.
Where was it?
We were at Easter End Mall.
Oh shit!
We were at Easter End Mall. We wanted we wanted to go watch a movie, and we went past Bounce and all of that. And the cinemas were closed, so we went to the arcade. And when we were driving out, we were paying for the tickets. We were paying for the ticket, and Steph and my wife had noticed this guy wearing the chain, and he had a Wakanda shirt on. So we were driving out, and Connor like, no, we can't let this go. So Connor winds down his window and shouts, "Wakanda, Wakanda forever!" And the guy, he just turned around. The guy's doing this, like straight up in the parking lot, like fucking random. Like I think it was like 10 o'clock at night. I think it was like
It
2 years
late.
ago. It was very late in the evening, and this is exactly it. You go out and people connect, but now you're connecting on what nerds were connecting on, fucking many years ago.
But I
So
don't
guys,
think-
sorry, Talora. First appearance of Black Panther was in July 1966, created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. So Black Panther's been around.
he has been around, but I don't think you must remember. I don't think comic books in general are very popular in Africa as they are in the States, especially now.
No, definitely
So
not.
So you've got this whole generation of kids that have grown up with no idea who the Black Panther is, and then you go to the cinema and you see these actors that you know from South African series. I mean, King T'Chaka, he was played by a South African man. I mean, the Wakandan accent is it's iffy at best, but
T'Challa didn't do half bad.
And I mean, Wakandan
Chadwick-
is
Chadwick-
based on Xhosa.
Chadwick, yeah, but Chadwick Boseman didn't
there's
do
actually
that bad
Yeah.
in terms of an attempt from an American-born
Wait, is
individual.
he-
But the thing is, they did that very generic African accent instead of being very specific to a region. There's actually a girl on TikTok. She's South African, I think, and she's done a whole video series about all the actors doing their African accent, and she does it in a better way, where you can see that okay, wait, they could have changed the accent, the dialect a little bit, and it would have been more regional specific and. Like,
But
know
I
it's
think
little details like that.
I wonder if they didn't keep it as far. Okay, let's actually stop talking about this. We're ruining content for the next episode.
No, not necessarily, because I mean now we're going into like a bit of a finer detail when it comes to
for
people
movie
portraying.
in the next phase.
No. The A Team. Please tell me if that's in the next fucking phase. No, it isn't.
What?
The
Huh?
A Team.
The 18.
Yeah, Sholto Copley, Copley.
Yes.
Copley.
an
Yes.
amazing actor in American films, acting as a South African, obviously has the accent down, sings
But he-
Afrikaans songs in Elysium, and
He
then
did a much better job with the Afrikaans accent than Andy Serkis did.
Andy Serkis
yes,
did.
yes. But again, this is showing like there is a lot more detail when it comes down to films and stuff that a lot of people skip over. I mean, people will skip over the music, but I mean because they're there to watch the movie.
Yeah. I
Whereas
think
the nerds that really read all the comics and dealt with all of the shit are there for more details.
I think that as far as music goes, the music for like Guardians was so much more accessible. It wasn't classical. It wasn't stuff that you really had to listen to
And it
to
wasn't
get into.
it wasn't
It was
an
pop.
ambiance. It wasn't an ambiance thing. It wasn't a background, scenery sort of thing. It was actual music. But again, like someone had mentioned in chat, I think it was Wallow, talking about how sympathetic the characters, history elements, and music portrayed in that same manner. So, again, like we talk about pop culture, but we go in a lot more detail when it comes to certain things. We will hate on something for a specific reason that other people will skip over completely.
Yeah, but that's what nerds do. We
Not even hate on. We could also appraise something like To the Moon and Back for that same reason. we will appreciate it more because we are nerdum. And again, the whole point of Absolute Buggery is everything and anything pop culture. So we're not just talking about Marvel, we are talking about the finer details that we've enjoyed, the story elements
But
and stuff like that.
it's easy to talk Marvel because they're so constant. They're a content machine. There's just constantly something new. I mean, there was that year where we had nothing, and then after that, it's just
What year?
every
That year
single
doesn't
week
exist.
last year. But I mean, this year so far, almost every single week of this year, we've gotten something. I
I
mean,
mean, yeah, it's
November we've got Hawkeye. I mean, September we got Shang-Chi.
When we're
We've
still
got the
getting
What
What
If
If.
episode.
and we're still getting
Yeah,
What
we're
If
still
as it
getting
goes.
What
Loki.
Ifs.
And now we've got
We're
the
getting
Spider-Man trailer release as well. I mean,
exactly. There's just
so
constant content.
like the whole and again why I refer to what we do is we're not only for those that are like Talora very heavy in depth in the Marvel universe, whether it be from the comic book, whether it be from animated series, or whether it be from the physical cinematic universe, but it's also for those who have just watched the cinematic universe and then find out extra information. They find out these small tidbits. I mean, we were talking about these things that people didn't know about when making the film with Chris Evans and the feet thing. Oh, I can't get over that. And the whole of him covering his mouth. And we talk about what's Ashley Johnson and my hunk of a man being in these Marvel movies, and these people would never really have noticed this type of stuff, but when we bring it to light, they'll be like, wait, let me go see what they're talking about. And this gives them more detail.
You're welcome, world.
We're educating you, motherfuckers.
So welcome.
But
It's like,
aside from speak.
no, I was just gonna say I had a moment this week with What If, where Denai Guerrero, she plays Michonne in The Walking Dead. I had a moment where watching the Marvel Zombies episode, because Marvel Zombies is written by the same guy who wrote the Walking Dead comic, and I
didn't know
had
that.
this moment.
Really?
Yeah, so I had this moment where I was like, wait a moment, she survived 2 zombie apocalypses. And
There might be
Oh,
more.
damn. Kirkman did rot. But I mean,
Again,
I think
it's
content-
Mark Miller and Robert Kirkman.
Again, this is content you will not see outside of this type of show unless you are that heavily invested in something like this.
Interesting fact. Have you watched Invincible, though?
Invisible, the M. Night Shyamalan.
No. The Keegan will know. Keegs shot in chat for Invincible. Yeah, it's a comic book series that was turned into a series. Robert Kirkman also wrote that and Atkoff. He's
You got to show me the pretty pictures, bro.
I'll show you the pretty pictures after the stream. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to comment on?
Okay, no, which yeah, that's a fucking rough animated series.
It looks very family friendly until Omni-Man murders.
Until he rips everyone apart.
Yep.
So we'll leave it up to chat. Likes, dislikes, comments on phase 2. What is your opinion? Whether we care about them or not, it doesn't matter. This is a place for your voice to be heard. But there's nothing else from my side. Anything from T, our Marvel
nothing from
Wizz.
me. I'll save it all for the next episode.
But we will just say that your hunk of a man is the Winter Soldier. Then them eyebrows.
I can't wait until we get on to our phase episode because
Connor's going to be going mad. No, I'm excited, especially with a lot of people talk about, are you Team Cap? Are you Team Iron Man? No, I'm Team Winter Soldier. When it came down to that fight.
Listen, there was only one right team, and that we'll talk about.
We'll talk about that next time. But no, thank you again very much to Laura for joining us today. Thank you very much for being our Marvel Wizz.
We appreciate you, Talora.
We do. And everyone in chat, thank you guys so much for the comments. We've enjoyed all of them. Keep bringing them in. You know, we love it as much as you guys do. But from me, we have been Absolute Buggery.
And Talora, what have we had?
A lot of opinions. opinions.
A lot of opinions.
Thank you
Bye,
guys.
guys.
Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.